All right, hello everybody. For Status Coup, I am JT Siskowski. We are live outside of the Broadview, Illinois ICE detention facility. It is just about a block down the road that way. You can see this small crowd of protesters who are out here today in the one remaining designated protest zone near the ICE facility here in Broadview. It's a theme that we've seen play out over the last several weeks that we have been on the ground here. A steady eroding away of the right to protest outside of this facility. It used to be at the beginning of Operation Midway Blitz, which is the operation that the Department of Homeland Security launched here in the Chicagoland area several weeks ago, that these protesters were able to be right in front of the doors of a brick building that you might be able to see there in the background, a brick building there behind me. They were able to be right outside of the front doors, just about, on the sidewalk protesting. They have now been steadily moved back about a block away from that building, and where they used to protest against a couple of different entrances to that facility, they have now been limited to only this one area, this area that is surrounded by these concrete barricades that you see out here. They are now limited to just this one spot, and only between the hours of 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time. It's about 4:30 now, so about an hour and a half left today that these protesters have left to demonstrate out here. Saturdays have usually been the day when we see the most protest activity out here, and it's also when we've seen some of the most violent responses from local and state police who have been out here keeping the crowd, or managing the crowd, over these last several weeks. Also to the frustration of protesters, because under state law here in the state of Illinois, local police and state police are barred from aiding ICE in most circumstances. Specifically, the state law calls out not creating any sort of perimeter to benefit, or traffic perimeter, anything like that, to benefit ICE. However, they have been doing so here, keeping the protesters out of the streets and unable to impede ICE vehicles as they come and go from the facility. There's another theme that I want to call out here, and that is the response that we have seen from ICE against these protesters. This road here, this is Beach Street in the village of Broadview. That is one approach to the ICE facility. There is another one that is around the corner from here, and that is Harvard Street. Harvard Street was the street that had been primarily used by ICE over the last couple of weeks to get in and out of their facility, so we had seen some protests over there. But since the protests have been removed from that Harvard Street entrance and only allowed to be here, we have now seen ICE vehicles again using this approach in a manner that seems to be intentional to try and gain some kind of reaction out of the protesters. It's something that we've seen several times now out here, where ICE has gone out of its way to antagonize the protesters or be aggressive to them, all in the name of producing propaganda with cameras that they will hold out here, or that they will bring along with them out here, that have been documenting everything that they've been doing out here at this scene. We're going to go into this crowd shortly and start to get some interviews to hear from some of the voices here and start to take more of a perspective of what it's like inside that facility, the importance of being out here protesting, and also teasing out some other themes that we have seen here about what's happening with the federal courts and what the president is currently doing with regards to looking for excuses to go into more American cities and enact many of the same policy goals that he has carried out here in the Chicagoland area, where we have seen ICE agents based largely out of this facility, though other places as well, traveling around the city from neighborhood to neighborhood, community to community, and abducting people, profiling them based purely on the color of their skin. That played out just yesterday again in some North Chicago neighborhoods. Earlier today, I was in Lakeview, which is a very affluent part of Chicago. There are homes there that sell for many millions of dollars, where just yesterday ICE had deployed tear gas in that neighborhood, which, by the way, full of young children. I can verify that from having been out there on the ground today and just seeing how many parents and young kids were out their walks, tear gassing that neighborhood because the neighborhood came out to protest ICE's presence, as ICE forced its way onto private property in order to chase down and taken to custody 2 men, one of whom was later released. And we'll have a story on that whole operation coming out shortly on our YouTube. So if you're not, subscribe to us, like this stream, share it out there so that more people can see what it's actually like here on the ground. John, I'm going to have you basically do a 180 with this camera here. I want you to show that media staging area that we normally see here at the top of Beach Street. So you see there, panning past all the concrete barricades. You see there where there are some, there is 2 tripods, there is a couple of lights set up there. That is the only media presence out here aside from ourselves and a couple of other independent media. We take great pride from the fact that we've been here on the ground for weeks now. John was here for 3 weeks straight at one point. I've been here again now over the last several days. John again joining me today, and we're going to be here for at least the near future, again, continuing to show what it's actually like here on the ground in Chicago and here outside of the Broadview ICE detention facility, and lifting up the voices of people who are being victimized by this administration right now. If that is a mission that you support, please go to StatusCoup.com/join for $5 a month. That's what it goes to support the work that John and I and the whole team here at Status Coup are doing. We are a small bunch, but we are mighty, and we punch well above our weight in terms of the news that we are able to break and the presence that we are able to have in communities like Chicago, like Broadview, and others all across this country. When we pick a story, we stick to it. We don't parachute in and then immediately leave, the way you see with national media, many of the national media. There was one time when that street that John just showed you was filled with cameras. It was filled with cameras for maybe a day or two, and then they were all gone off chasing the next thing. We have remained here, and we will continue to be here as long as the story is here, as long as this community continues to be victimized in the same way that it has been. And of course, it's important to document this because we're seeing a lot of these same tactics now being carried out, or at least being planned to be carried out in other communities across the country, right? You're seeing a lot of that same siege mentality that ICE has created for itself here in this facility, also playing out on the streets of Portland. If you've been watching your social media feeds, you've likely seen the videos of the dancing inflatables that the protesters have turned to there as a way to try and show that they are not a threat to these militarized police forces, that these federal militarized police forces that are out in their streets. And so we're seeing some of these same tactics now being carried out in other communities. There's now reporting that San Francisco may be next, but of course we've also seen this play out in the D.C. area, in New York, in L.A., and likely to be many more. Because Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was asked just the other day to respond to rumors circulating online, a rumored memo that says that the Department of War is making plans to deploy a response force of National Guard troops to all 50 states by April of next year. When faced with that question of if he could offer, if you could say if there's any validity to that statement, he did not deny it. He just said he wouldn't comment on ongoing plans, and said that the federal government reiterated that the federal government has authority to go into states and communities and nationalize the National Guard where need be to do so. And that is likely not a coincidence that it's happening at the same time that the president's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, and others in this administration are continuously using the words insurrection to describe what is happening here in Chicago. I don't know about you. This does not look like an insurrection to me. John Farina was at the Capitol on January 6th. John, I'm imagining that you would say this is a far cry from January 6th. John nodding his head and saying absolutely, a far cry from what it looked like on January 6th, a real insurrection where we saw an attempted overthrow of Congress, an attempt to impede what Congress was attempting to do, which is certify the results of the 2020 election. Nothing like that happening out here. What we've seen repeatedly is largely peaceful protests, both here and across the city of Chicago. So the use of the insurrection language is all a justification so far, attempting to plant in the minds of Americans the idea that it might be okay to send in the National Guard or the U.S. Army into cities and states across this country in a blatant power grab. So I'm going to start to make my way into the crowd here, and we'll start to pull out some of the protesters here to be able to talk to. Before I do so, I do want to note that we will also be going, we believe we'll be going live out here again tomorrow around 4:45 or so, where we'll be seeing some real celebrations of of joy out here, some of the community building that has been happening in response to these protests. John, let's take a look at what this is in response to. We're seeing, there's a truck leaving from the ICE facility right now, and it's the movement of those vehicles in and out that gets a lot of the biggest responses from the crowd out here. Because they are so far removed, it's really the only thing that they can direct a lot of their ire and attitude towards is those vehicles. I'll say that some of the protesters out here have also noted, as I said, now some of those ICE vehicles have been using Beach Street. We didn't see the truck do that just now, but some of the ICE vehicles have been using Beach Street, deliberately driving past these protesters when they don't need to in order to leave their facility, deliberately doing so. Some of the protesters even told me yesterday when I was out here that the ICE will drive by and just videotape them with like their cell phones and things along those lines, or take pictures of them, again in a way that seems to be deliberately trying to elicit a response from the ICE protesters. On top of that brick building over there in the corner, you might be able to see a small light on top of it. For a long time we had seen ICE agents perched there on the roof of that building, and it was from there that they were firing into this crowd indiscriminately down here over the last several weeks, pepper balls, rubber bullets, and the like. That has now moved. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it from where we are here because there's a fence in the way, but they are now up on top of a building just beyond this fence. John's going to lift the camera up and see if we can see the rooftop of that building. That is now where we have seen the ICE agents. They were certainly out there yesterday. I don't see one up there right now, but we'll keep an eye on that as the evening continues because it does give...
Just recently bought this building.
Yeah, right? Correct. Yeah, so ICE has been looking to expand its footprint here in the Chicagoland area and try to get more detention facilities, more facilities to work out of, and this building has been one of those buildings. Even Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was here and toured that building a couple of weeks ago.
No, human is illegal.
Last Friday, I was here in the afternoon. There was a small handful of us, and all of a sudden, the black box was going to cause me to look up.
We got the power. We got the power. We got the power. We got the power. We got the power.
I got somebody joking.
We got the power.
Christie in town.
We got the power.
We got the power. Right here to get the money. All the other meetings need to help back.
Yeah, so we were just talking off camera here, so can you start by just telling me your name or what you want to go by?
Yeah, well, my name is Kelly, and I was here last Friday. Just a small handful of people protesting peacefully. A lot of us were older, and all of a sudden a Black Hawk helicopter started going around our heads, which drew me to look up, and all of a sudden there had to be 10, 12, 15 ICE agents all pointing their rifles at me. I've lived this long in my life in this supposedly war zone of America. I've never had a gun banished at me, and I was under the impression that an officer could not do that unless you had a gun, but they had no problem. So I jokingly said, "What is KKK in town?" Miss Christie, and I looked up, and there she was. At the same time, Fox was down right there to get that money shot, and then it was over. All the other media was held at the opposite end of the block. So you got your photo op, Christy. I hope you're happy. But to have a weapon drawn on you leaves you in some kind of way in America.
Yeah, in the United States of America, having your government point weapons at you for the purposes of a photo op. I mean, how did it make you feel in that moment? I mean, I kind of get the sense of, like, I don't know if I would say disappointment or maybe more of an anger that I'm getting a sense off of you, Kelly.
It makes me very sad because in the 1990s, I read in a local paper when Bush was in the administration and he was doing a sweep through America. And I wondered, like, what is going to happen with these people? But they couldn't build facilities as fast as they could catch the hardened criminals. I think we all agree on that, right? So they were housing the immigration at local police departments. And I thought, well, who's going to keep those police safe from all those germs and stuff? So I started a company, and I went to all these different police departments, and one after another hired my company to come in and sanitize. When they would be released for a little thing called habeas corpus, okay?
A foreign concept in today's America.
Due process, if we got to spell it out for y'all. Then sometimes they wouldn't come back. Sometimes they were put on buses to go back to where they lived. Those, when they were there, they had clean linens every night. They had 3 solid meals. They had their medication. They were watched 24 hours in surveillance. And actually, some of the older officers in the end would pull a chair and come in and talk to them. And I'm going to tell you, in all those years, there was only one ruckus while this was going on during those 4 years, and that was a white man who got a DUI who decided to mess with these people. There's no reason we have to be doing this like this. This is reckless. It's law. It's not. It's lawfulness. It's awful. And to see that the directives, like that person that just walked in that building had no idea how they're even supposed to get in. One minute an officer's telling you as I'm picking up litter, here's a glove. The next guy's pushing me, telling me to get out. I'm an old person here just trying to do what I feel the Holy Spirit wants me to do. And this is really bad, and I think people should need to band together, stick together. And the last thing I have to say is we're going to hit food scarcity. And I don't want people to go out there and steal. What I want you to do is turn to your neighbor. It's not a time to be quiet, proud. Please, there are more good than there are bad, and we will weather this. He will not suppress our voting. He will not starve you out. God is on your side, and with God, no man can be against you. That's it. God bless us all.
Kelly, I wanted to follow up on a couple of things there with you, which is, you as you say, you ran this business that went into like police departments and these holding cells, and you actually did like sanitation and stuff in there. Can you talk about the importance of providing a service like that? Why it's important to keep these facilities clean? Because what I really want to do is draw a distinction with what we've heard about the inside of this facility, which is very little. Everything that we've got is secondhand because the federal government won't allow people inside. So if they're not allowing people inside to actually verify what the conditions are like in here, I mean, what are some of those like conditions, like some of the harmful things that you've seen in your time, like before you like came in and started like sanitizing places like this? Like what could that lead to if they're not getting services like what you provided?
Well, just look at COVID. Look what COVID did in our jails. This could bring an outbreak like anything we couldn't imagine. And it breaks my heart when you have a person that's undocumented or whatever, been born here, and they come and they've got their family's medicine and they don't even know that they're in there, and there's nowhere for them to go. They have zero directives. This is like the Keystone Cops. This is not being ran properly. This is inhumane and it's unnecessary. And if you want to ask me why it's all going down, because he doesn't want us to see the Epstein files, and we're not going to forget. I will fight to the death for Virginia Giuffre and all those victims. They have been wronged for too many years, and the cruelty has to come to an end. He will, Trump has forgot, and many of these people have forgotten. This is God's world. We are God's children, and COVID should have gotten everybody there to their knees to know we're just all the same. We just come in different packages.
So I like you bringing the attention back to issues that you feel like really matter, that this is to a large extent a distraction, though it also ends up serving the administration's ends here. Like the cruelty is the point. They use it to produce propaganda coming out of here. We've seen them be followed around with their own camera crews that videotape them. They put out videos on social media.
That was 100% set up for Christina for her photo op.
Right. So you've seen it firsthand. You were a part of that. You've seen how they use this as a distraction to distract from issues that, people have strong, conviction about wanting to see change with. You referenced there the Epstein files. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is the economy. That's also something that we've seen a lot of pain from recently, that people are continuing to struggle, that, it wasn't like Donald Trump ran on, I'm going to fix inflation, gets here, and what has really been done aside from, raising prices further through tariffs. I'm just kind of curious, in your life, have you felt that in any real sense? Have you felt the continued economic pressures on you as a person?
Well, me personally, I'm very blessed. I have a good support system. But one thing I did notice is when you go by the food banks, they're all Escalades. They're all people of means. They don't know how to navigate like everyday people. It wouldn't matter if you gave me $1 million. I'm going to end up handing it all out, and I'll be right back to where I was, because there's no pockets on a casket. You don't take that with you. But I really and truly mean it. I don't know, but Aldi is providing a $40 full Thanksgiving meal. And if you have the means, get out there and buy one and share with others that don't. Get in your neighbor's face. Get in other towns. Help people. It's been a do-it-yourself project now for a while. Have you noticed that? Yet we pay all the high premiums, but you find the paperwork. You do all the work, right? Maybe we never needed them to begin with.
And I want to also call out the fact that sorry, I've lost my train of thought here for you, Kelly. I apologize. I apologize.
I thank you for letting me get that out.
Yeah.
I wanted to share, especially being firsthand and seeing how it should be done. This sickens me. This is our money for more cruelty. It's not enough we're funding the genocide over in Gaza. Come on now. Not to mention shooting those boats in Argentina. Everything is pretty scary right now. And it does concern me because it isn't just America. It is really around the world. So my advice to you is if you haven't met God, it's time. It's really time. And don't forget, he loves everybody. He doesn't care if you're black, white. He doesn't care if you're gay, who you go to bed with. God made us all. He already knew what we were going to be. Just turn it over to him.
So you bring up there like your faith is part of like your conviction with being out here, or at least finding some solace in that. Steve Bannon, an advisor to the president in the past, has just come out and said that Donald Trump will serve a third term because he is a divine instrument. I'm assuming you don't share that same same opinion.
No, absolutely not. I don't think he's the Antichrist either. I think maybe Stephen Miller is. I'm not kind of thinking about that one, but you can only serve one God. In my belief system, it's Jesus Christ. But he makes it very clear you can only serve one God. So if you're still supporting this man and you have that mindset, you better really get on your knees and ask God who and what you have become. There's one chance that this is not a dress rehearsal. This is real life. The rubber's meeting the road. So to law enforcement, when you put that badge on, you are a police officer, and that's a very admirable thing. I respect that, and I pray for you daily. But if you put God first in that role, you're going to become the protector that God wanted you to be. And the same applies to absolutely any career or anything that we do. And I do believe if people would put God first, they wouldn't be able to let their conscience be complacent like these officers are doing now. I get it. They're scared. They're scared about, paying their bills like the rest of us. But when I saw this all happening, I quit my job. I no longer clean the jail cells. I wasn't going to be a part of any of this. And so far, I'm still eating.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. The last question I had for you is like if there was any silver lining that we've seen in all this, and you've referenced it a couple of times here, just like the support from the community that we've seen out here. When ICE goes into some of these communities, John and I have been struck when we are out in these communities, the support that is offered for one another, the connection that's creating for people out there. It's amazing, even if, it pales in comparison to the amount of pain that this administration is causing here right now. At least it's something to be able to find some solace in. Just curious, for an example or two that you've either seen out here or maybe wherever you live, where are some of those aspects of community building that you have seen that have given you heart in these moments?
Well, I know myself, I work nights, so a lot of times I'll swing by and I make sure, because another rotten thing that they're doing is letting people out at 3 o'clock in the morning, holding their phones, not letting them have them, in some cases a cane for a woman. Now you're here and they don't have their phones. How are they supposed to find their way? So I've spread the word in the community, drive by. You may give somebody a ride home, and that's what I do. You got to support one another. That's all we have is each other.
Well, I can't let you get away without me asking a couple of follow-up questions off of that. So how many people have you been giving rides to out here who have been released from this facility at 3 in the morning?
Oh, it's been 3.
What are it's been a drop here. It's been a drop here and there out there. Yeah, yeah. It was a thank you from above.
But what got me to do that was because they arrested this I want to say right 68-year-old gentleman who was in his house. The door knocked. He answered the door. The following day, he was going to Public Aid or somewhere. So he had all his documentation in his book bag. When he let him in, they wouldn't even tell him what they were there for. Obviously, then they didn't show a warrant, or he would have understood. But he had the presence of mind to grab his book bag, and thank God he did. But they didn't want to look. They didn't care. They threw him in the back of a box truck, an unmarked box truck, with 30 other people, and drove around for hours until they filled that thing up like they do with cattle. Then to bring him here, to have him sit here to be processed for a couple of hours, only to be released. And to be released that way, that man walked from Broadview all the way to Hinsdale, Illinois to find a train at 68 years old. It's wrong, and it doesn't need to be done this way. All we want are things that are lawful. You follow the law, I follow the law. Yes, they could argue that they came here and they're undocumented. But that's a misdemeanor and still never a reason to treat a fellow human being that way.
I'm curious, in talking to those 3 people who you've given rides home from, and I'm not sure if there's a language barrier or anything like that. Big language barrier. Right. I'm just curious if they've communicated anything to you about what it's like inside here at all.
No, I can't really communicate, but I think the one thing that a lot of them have said is that, and not necessarily just here, but they're made clear that they're never coming out. And I hate that. And one woman the other day, she comes to protesters looking for her loved one, like, because there is nowhere for them to turn. And it just turned out that they just moved them up to like Milwaukee or something, because every time they shift them, that's a big money change. These things they're privately owned. A lot of these are all supporters of Trump's campaign. So every time you switch a person, ching, 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 ching. So to me, it's almost like money laundering and trafficking people. And what's this poor woman speed to do now? She needs to go up all the way just to confuse the people, just to make it harder. The cruelty just never ends.
Kelly, I've already held you long enough, but is there anything else you wanted to add while you had the platform?
I just want to say thank you very much, because, we all agree that if somebody's come here and has committed crimes, that they need to go through the due process and just do it right and treat people the way you want to be treated. Love thy neighbor. Read that book. It's not just for staring at. So,
Kelly, thank you very much for your time. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, so there you just got a sense for one story from one protester who's out here trying to deliver some sort of message of hope, if a lot of frustration and anger and sadness about what is happening inside that facility just off to my right now. If you, John, if you'll pan over actually to that ICE facility, there's something I want to point out, which is that the windows up there are actually boarded over and have been since I've been on the ground here reporting. Likely that was done when the protests began out here several weeks ago. But that's just gone to that creation of a siege mentality out here among the ICE agents. That's something that several of the local leaders have called out, that the creation of so many defensive lines to guard from peaceful protesters has created a siege mentality among the Department of Homeland Security officers who are inside, so they feel like their backs are against the wall and they are somehow more justified in using force against the peaceful protesters who are out here. And we don't know much about what's going on inside. The windows themselves are boarded over, and even the two senators for the state of Illinois, that is Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, who came out here largely for a photo op a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to give them too much credit, where they came to deliver a case of water each to the protesters who are demonstrating out here. But they also came to try and get access to the facility because they have not been given any, and they were turned away when they attempted to do so, or their staff attempted to do so. So there's no verification about what the facilities are like on the inside. We just had one Democratic representative come out the other day and relay what he had heard from a former constituent, someone who had been taken by ICE and then deported, who had stayed in here. And what that representative relayed was that apparently, and right now the crowd is acting up because there are several agents walking into the facility right now. That tends to be whenever there's any ICE presence out here or DHS presence in any capacity out here. That's when the crowd gets going the loudest. Right now they're chanting "shame, shame" towards those officers who just went inside. But what that Democratic representative communicated from the man who had been inside was that man had voluntarily signed off on his own deportation because he did not want to be inside this facility anymore. He had said that people were being kept in there 60 to a cell and that they had to sleep standing up. I can't verify that. I'm not allowed inside. No media is allowed inside. Not even the senators for the state of Illinois have been allowed inside to verify if these claims are true. John makes a good point. He just pointed out that the only people who have been inside this facility are right-wing content creators like Benny Johnson, who just did a ride-along with Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, when she was here, and did a lot of glorifying of the actions of ICE out here, even as they raided an apartment building and zip-tied many people from inside that building, emptied everybody out, detained everybody in that building to effect a few arrests. That's the kind of person that's being allowed inside this facility, the ones who can be trusted to be sycophantic cheerleaders for the Trump administration, regardless of whatever horrific actions it carries out.
They're not qualified for a real job.
Be all right? I'll just kind of bring you out of the crowd a little bit here. All right. This is my cameraman, John.
Okay. Hi, John.
So I am here now with Micah. Micah, just so that I make sure that I don't screw it up later, can you just spell that name for me real quick?
Yeah, it's M-I-C-A-H.
So I feel like a lot of questions that I could ask you. I want to start with just why stand out so much? Why go with such an ostentatious get up here as a way to deliver your message?
I mean, the eagle is an American symbol, and Trump is just like destroying everything. He's stealing things. He's just stripping people of rights. He stole my clothes. So what more can I say? He's just taken everything.
So when you say he's stolen your clothes, I assume you mean that in a sense of jest or an in-character sense?
It can be all kinds of things, sure.
I mean, what I was maybe setting you up for there a little, maybe too covertly was to talk, like if you're talking about losing the shirt off of your back, I want to know if you're feeling any economic pain in this instance. We're seeing that the Trump administration is using what's happening here in Broadview. They're producing a lot of propaganda based on what they're doing here in the Chicagoland area as a means to distract from a lot of things that are not flattering to this president right now, one of which being like the Epstein files, another being, of course, the state of the economy, which continues to really inflict a lot of harm on working class people. I want to know if you have felt that kind of harm in any real sense in your day-to-day life.
I can't say that I have, but I know that there's plenty of people who have, and I'm able to speak up, so I want to speak on their behalf. So even if things aren't affecting me personally, I know they're affecting a lot of other people, and that's what should make America great, is being, sticking up for each other, not dividing, not destroying, not tearing other people down that are different than us. So that's what I think.
When deciding to dress this way in terms of your protests, I want to know, were you at all inspired by the scenes that we've seen out of Portland and other cities where like folks are donning like inflatable costumes, using humor as a way to like disarm and show we're nonviolent?
I mean, somewhat. I've always liked costumes. I've always a little bit been contrarian and countercultural. I think Speedos should be normalized in North America, so that was part of it. And I think you got to use humor. You got to be goofy. Humor's powerful too, you can use fun messages to get strong words across. So,
well, no doubt that we could have an entire interview just about the normalization of the Speedo here in North America. I want to keep things focused on the ICE facility behind you. So, why do you feel you talked about that you're here to protest for others who cannot be here in this moment? Who are the people that in your mind can't be here that you need to stand up and be a voice for?
Well, number one, for the people that are being detained, people from my neighborhood have gotten picked up and abducted by ICE, and some of those people were legal, were citizens. So, but also the people that are picked up who are undocumented. Also for the people that maybe they're at risk of losing their jobs if they speak up. So I have a friend who works for the government. He has feelings against Trump, against ICE, but he's not in a position where he can he can come and be out here because he just can't, kind of for his own safety, for his own job. There's other people in other kinds of jobs who don't feel the ability to speak out. And I'm in a position where I can, so I need to do that.
I'm going to take a moment just to read off for the camera what your signs say. So the first one here on the front says, ICE kidnapped my neighbors, as you just explained to us, and Trump stole my clothes. As a good jest, if I could have you rotate for me, sir, please, and thank you. And the one on your back says the exact same thing. So you're out here as kind of like a why the Red Lobster foam fingers on your hands?
Kind of just to be ridiculous, and I already have them, so why not?
If there was ever an occasion to wear them, I guess this is the one.
And to keep my hands warm as the weather's getting colder. So
absolutely. So. Can you maybe just explain for folks who don't live here in the Chicagoland area what it actually feels like to live under this occupation that the federal government has placed this area under right now?
I mean, it's just scary for neighbors, for kids. It's just intimidating. It's just basically awful because it's stressful and it's exhausting to have to deal with people, the militarization and all these people walking around with guns and armor, and we're just wanting to live our lives and get back to normal. So,
what's your message for folks on the right who have attempted to paint protesters like yourself as some sort of threatening Antifa soldiers or some sort of violent mob out here at the Broadview facility?
Sure. I would say just read more, listen more. I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. I'm out here on my free time that I have, because I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in helping people who aren't able to maybe help themselves. I believe in helping others. So just read more, listen more, learn more.
I believe that every good dad should try and embarrass their kids. I think mission accomplished here, Dad of the Year maybe.
I do that all the time, and they know it. It's fine.
But I started talking about your status there as a father. How are you explaining to your kids right now? I don't know how old they are, but how are you explaining to your kids right now what is happening here in their community?
Sure. I mean, my kids are just entering their teen years, and we explain to them that it's injustice, it's wrong, it's an abuse of power. I mean, they know our positions against Trump and ICE and all the other horrible people that he's gotten on his side. We try to explain that it hasn't always been that way, that the Republican Party used to be normal, that there used to be good, thoughtful people on both sides, and also rotten people on both sides, but we try to explain this is not normal, but we still need to stand up for our neighbors and what's right and what's moral and just. So
how could your leaders right now stand up for those who for your neighbors who are being victimized by this administration I mean, I don't want to play down the fact that you are as well as being just someone who has to live here in the Chicagoland area as all of this is happening. But you referenced there being folks less fortunate than yourselves. How do you want to see your leaders standing up for those same people right now? What actions could they be doing?
You mean your leaders, local leaders?
Yeah, local, state, federal, wherever you see that line being right now, wherever you want to see action in this moment, what do you want to see from those leaders?
Well, I mean, I'm grateful to be in a state where Governor Pritzker is standing up. I mean, he's been a vocal opponent of Trump. I just feel like other leaders like Tammy Duckworth, she stood up. So I feel like the leaders in our area have stood up. Mayor Johnson. I just feel like most of it's the Republican leaders who aren't necessarily representative of me, who are just going along. They got on the bandwagon and they're not giving any pushback, and it's really sad that they're putting all these other things, whether it's themselves or money, or ahead of actual people and caring about the whole country as a whole thing.
You giving praise there to Governor Pritzker. I mean, it's ultimately his state police force that is out here kind of keeping the protesters back from where they want to be, closer to the building. I want to know, is there any room for improvement from him, or do you see the presence of the state troopers out here as necessary?
I honestly can't speak fully about the state police. I know it's been controversial. I feel like him the way he leads and speaks as a whole against Trump, I believe in. The state police, I don't really have specific comments about. So.
Understood. Micah, thank you very much for talking to me. Is there anything else you'd want to add while you had this platform that I didn't ask you about?
I think more people should dress up and be goofy. Sometimes it just, to make a good point. So.
Micah, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Sure.
Let's get back to it.
All right, thanks.
Yep. I think this is a perfect time as any to draw a very clear contrast between the kinds of news and interviews that you get here on Status Coup versus what you see in the corporate press. You're not going to get an interview with Micah the Eagle on CNN or on any other corporate outlet right now. So if you can, please go to support our work, StatusCoup.com/join. Those other outlets aren't even out here right now to be interviewing Micah and many of the other folks that we're going to hear from. Of course, making a bit of a joke about that he dons that costume as a way to make a point that these are peaceful protesters out here, and attempting to lift up those voices and not just play the fight between when state police will come in and arrest people and really do that sort of both sidesism of the protests out here as if to instigate that the protesters, these largely peaceful protesters, are in some way incurring the kind of violence that we're seeing carried out, especially from the federal authorities inside that building. When they come out, they have fired tear gas into these crowds. They have brutally arrested, thrown people to the ground, shot them with rubber bullets and with pepper balls. To really draw that distinction of what it's like here on the ground, really show it up close, and to do so for a protracted period. We're out here day after day after day. That is expensive to do. You can go to StatusCoup.com/join. $5 a month goes to help afford John and I a place to sleep at night when we are here away from our families, bringing you this important news. Gives us food to eat so we have the energy to keep going, and supplies everything for our crews, the producers, and everybody that we have back home. I say everybody, it's myself, John, and 3 other people. So it's a small team here, and we really punch above our weight in what we're able to report. And I would really encourage you, if you haven't yet, please, StatusCoup.com/join, subscribe, but also go and check out everything that we're putting out on all of our channels right now. Subscribe to our YouTube if you haven't. Share this stream so that others can see what it's actually like out here, the peaceful protests here outside of the Broadview ICE detention facility. So be out here. So please share that. Take a look at the other videos, the other reports that we're doing right now. And I'm just going to have John, if you just want to kind of give like a scene setter here. Sorry, Derek. We caught you as you're eating. I should have given you a minute. I apologize. Okay. So I'm standing here with was it Derek?
Derek, yeah.
Yeah, Derek. So Derek, the reason that we started talking here, just kind of for our audience's information, is that we've seen you out here at some of these protests where there's been these like right-wing content creators who have been out here like antagonizing people, and we've seen you as really like someone who has gotten a lot of their attention. You were telling me off camera that you felt the need to kind of like draw their ire or draw their fire away from like people here in the crowd. What, why was that, and what's the value that you see in that service that you're kind of doing out here?
I was just trying to have a way everybody else can peacefully do what they doing and basically just try to stop him from getting the content he wanted.
Right. So maybe like walk folks through who like aren't familiar with that game that they are running out here, that these right-wing content creators, I mean, they want that content for what ends, to your mind?
I mean, it's different kinds of them. Like some of them, I feel like they coming out for the wrong reasons. But Cam Higbee, who you talking about, who I was following, I was wrong about him. But a lot of them coming out here to antagonize. A lot of them coming out here for the wrong reason. But that's why it's important to have the dialogue with them and have the serious conversations with them so you can see what is what, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to judge this person or that person over political beliefs, because all of them truly not the same, and I found that out.
Okay, interesting. What are the so catch people up here? What we've seen here is a lot of right-wing content creators. They've come out here into these crowds to like, a lot of them have come out and kind of antagonized people, deliberately gone out of their way to provoke responses, and then on social media claim that they were victimized in some way. Gets a lot of attention and traction that way.
Yeah,
Derek, you're
like that.
yeah. So you're saying that you're seeing a distinction between some of these content creators that you're out there. Can you explain a little bit more of that distinction that you're seeing?
I mean, some of them trying to antagonize and do everything you said, and some of them really out here trying to get dialogue and see what the other side is thinking and find some common ground. So that's the distinction. That's why it's important to talk to them. And then if you feel like they one of the ones trying to antagonize and all that, just move on. But some of them actually trying to find some common ground and have intelligent conversations. So as soon as you see them, unless you know about them or you done seen something about them, I wouldn't just write them off. Just pick their brain a little bit. This country needs to talk more, whether you on the right, left, red, or blue, or whatever it is. Everybody is Americans. Should nobody really be getting hated or any type of violent acts over political beliefs. So what this country needs more than anything is conversation. That's what this country needs. Like, political beliefs don't define nobody as a person, and that's what I learned with Cam Higbee. So I'll just say more conversation, more respect, stop the name callings, whether it's left, right, whatever it is, and just talk as a country. We're in a government shutdown right now simply because people just won't talk. So this country needs conversation.
That's what you want to see from your leaders in this moment right now, is just like more
from America. That's what I even like to see out here. That's what I want to see from America.
Why did you feel the need to be out here again today?
It's important for me to be out here every day, and every day I got time, I'm gonna come out here. It's just taking a stand. We the people. This is our country. This is not politicians' countries. This is our country. So once we can stop fighting and arguing with each other, we can truly get the power back to the people. So that's why it's important to come out here.
What does power back to the people look like in your mind?
For us, we don't work for them. Politicians work for us. We don't work for politicians. Right now they got us fighting and arguing and everything else and got us working for them. And we voting for one side or another just off this the side I'm on. Like, we're really not even paying attention to what's going on. We just voting red or voting blue or whatever. But so we all got to come back together, pay attention to what they doing, and make them work for us. Whether you red or blue, just vote for the best person. Vote for who you believe is the best person. Like, all this arguing and all this fighting, I'm from like an urban neighborhood, and it's been just like gangbanging to see. This done turned into like, you see a Charlie Kirk shirt or you see Obama shirt, it's almost a attempt on your life gonna be here. We gotta stop that. Quit acting like people political beliefs define them, because I just found out very recently that it don't, and I'm having the best time of my life and meeting some of the best people in my life just because I'm not being judgmental of somebody's political beliefs. Just hear the conversation. Tell somebody why you feel like you feel. Tell somebody why you vote how you vote. Don't argue, don't scream, don't call names. It's not getting us nowhere as a country, and meanwhile all these politicians are getting rich. So we got to get the power back to the people.
So who do you see? I mean, that system exists for a reason, meaning like the division that you're talking about, red versus blue, intentionally dividing people. Who do you see as directly profiting off of that division?
Politicians, 100%. Politicians. I mean, it's more than profiting. It's the not paying attention to what's going on because you almost hate the other side so much. They ain't got a campaign to be president. They ain't got a campaign to be senators. They just getting people vote because of the fighting and the confusion. So nobody really paying attention, and they patting their pockets, and we out here suffering, and we got to get the power back to the people, 100%. So
let's imagine a future where that has actually happened, right? Power back to the people in a way that government actually serves the interests of people all across this country. What are some of like the policy outcomes that would actually like benefit your lives directly if that like us versus them, that dividing of folks who share so much in common, like what are some gains that you see like easy, like we could just do this and it would fix a lot?
I really don't know. That's something I have to think about more because the fighting and the confusion been going on so long. It's just kind of murky right now. But I know for a fact it'll be a good thing. If we could stop fighting as the right and the left and come together and just all try to do what's best for the country, it's no way that wouldn't be a good thing on several fronts. Like, it's no way.
So a lot of the folks out here are protesting about, the actual like presence of Department of Homeland Security authorities, ICE, in their communities right now, like arresting people, abducting them, profiling based purely on like color of their skin or where they work, right? I'm curious, like, is that why, like, did you want to be out here as well to protest that presence at all, or is it really just to be here in dialogue with folks?
I initially came out here as my thing is a due process problem. That's what I feel like, people not getting due process. It's not really too much I can say about illegal immigrants getting deported if you're illegal, because that's just the law. But it's also the law to give them due process. So that was my whole thing initially, and that's in the boarded up building and can't see in, and not letting senators in, and not letting nobody in, and ambulance coming out the building all night. That's more of the problem that I have with it. But I mean, it ain't really too much you can say when it's cut, clear, and dry about you got to come to the country legally. So my whole thing is, my problem is really with due process and doing it the right way and treating people like human beings, and hopefully it's not 50 people to a room and no beds and all the horrible stuff we've been hearing. That's what I got a problem with.
Right, yeah, you're making reference to like some of the things we just heard members of Congress testify to, the fact that that they are hearing from folks who have been inside this building that it's 60 people to a cell, have to sleep standing up. The lack of due process, as you say, like people being brought here before like even their papers have been checked, and a few things, like in a few cases is what we have heard.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly all the type of stuff I heard, and I got a major problem with that, because if we're going to enforce the law and deport them, we need to enforce the law and do it correctly. Like, you can't just pick and choose what laws you want to follow and what laws you're going to abide by. Do it all correctly.
Derek, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would want to say while you got this platform?
We need to unite. Blue, red, left, right. We're all Americans, and we need to unite.
Thanks very much, man. I appreciate the time. Yep.
When you go home tonight and you're trying to fall asleep, do you think that when the chips are down, they're going to protect you? Do you think they give a fuck about you? Do you think if they could make an extra $1 billion by getting rid of you, murdering you, they wouldn't? Come on. At least believe in your own self-preservation, for fuck's sake. These are your rights too, you idiots. You're literally dismantling your own rights, you fucking morons.
Cuando el perreo te azota, pero obliga tú te perlas de mí si me ves por ahí.
that looks like a uncircumcised penis. Can he get out from behind the car, or is he too scared to talk now?
All right, so if you're just tuning into the live stream, one, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you can, share this stream so that others can see what it's actually like on the ground here in Broadview, Illinois. That's where we are, outside of the Broadview, Illinois ICE detention facility, where protests are underway here ahead of the 6 p.m. Central Time deadline on for how long they can be out here protesting. So about 40 minutes left of protesting before police will begin to close this area and move all of these protesters out. It's a lot of times during those hours when we see the most conflict between police and protesters, when police begin to enforce those limitations on protesting out here outside the facility. So yeah, that's the Broadview ICE detention facility there behind me, over my right shoulder, off to your left-hand side of the screen, that brick building back there. The windows are boarded up. You can't see inside. Members of Congress have not been allowed inside. The reports of the conditions on the inside that we have are secondhand. We had one Democratic member of Congress recently testify to the fact that somebody who was inside that facility said that they voluntarily self-deported because of how bad the conditions were inside when they were staying there, that it was 60 people to a cell, and they had to sleep standing up. That's all secondhand information that we can't confirm because no one's being allowed inside this facility. But I will say that it does match reports of other ICE detention facilities that we have been able to confirm with loved ones of people who have stayed in these facilities. Those being Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey, and in Alligator, Alcatraz, both of which we have extensively reported on in the past. People were being packed into those, 30 or 40 people to a cell. So the fact that it's, the estimates of 60 here in Broadview, where, they are in the midst of a massive immigration crackdown here, the Trump administration is, with their Operation Midway Blitz, really seems to track with what we have heard before. And we've also heard about problems with air conditioning causing sweltering heat, and people being given inadequate food and water while they were staying inside. That issue of heat is one I want to point out, because even though right now I'm wearing a coat, it's a little bit of a chilly night here in mid to late October here in Illinois, in northern Illinois. But even just a few weeks ago, it was 80 degrees and I was sweating out here as we were reporting, because we've been on the ground here for several weeks reporting. So it is a real problem, like these large temperature swings, if it's not being moderated or treated correctly inside the facility. But again, we can't verify these things because DHS won't let anyone in except for right-wing content creators who are going to just sycophantically report whatever the administration wants them to. So if you can, as I just said, we've been here on the ground for several weeks. We don't just come in, tell one story, and then leave the way a lot of national outlets do. Instead, we stay on the ground here for a while. This is John Farina making the rare appearance on camera. Say hi to everybody, John, as he gets something out of my backpack here. Yeah, John says he's looking for batteries back there. But we stay here on the ground. John recently was here for 3 weeks here on the ground. He was practically living, he just was living out of his hotel room. I'm a little bit more fortunate that I would stay for several days at a time, and then I live close enough that I could drive a couple of hours and get back home for a day or two. But John has really lived here. We have been on the ground here for weeks. We're not like those national outlets that just leave. So if that kind of reporting is important to you, please go to StatusCoup.com/join for $5 a month. You go to help keep us here on the ground for as long as we've been here. And we will stay here for as long as the story is here. And when we get a story, when we settle on a story here at Status Coup, we stay with it. We stay with it for not only just these weeks that we've been here at Broadview, but in places like Flint, Michigan, and in other corporate sacrifice zones across the country. These are places where we have continuously reported for years now. And so if being committed to journalism to that degree is important to you, please, StatusCoup.com/join. I'm going to go grab some more folks down here on the ground for us to interview some of these peaceful protesters, get a sense for some of the messages that they are attempting to deliver.
You look like it. Yeah, I've just been staring, wondering how somebody goes about being interviewed.
Oh, being interviewed?
Yeah.
Yeah, standing near a reporter is a good way to go about that.
That's the strategy I've been employing recently.
Yeah. Well, it works.
Well, so what's Coup?
Status Coup, we're an online independent progressive outlet.
All right.
We go in, usually we're doing a lot of reporting on like labor rights or like corporate sacrifice zones, but since the Trump administration has come in, we've done a lot of reporting on ICE disappearing people, did a lot of reporting around Alligator Alcatraz, and now we've been here in Chicago for about the last month. So, my name's JT, and you are?
Jimmy.
Jimmy, nice to meet you. Why don't you walk me through your sign? It's got two sides to it. I think it says the same thing on both sides, but... Oh, you got a second sign. So, why don't you walk us through your signs to start?
Sure. All right.
Read them off for us.
Let me start with this one. It'll make more sense.
Sure.
So I'm a Marine Corps combat veteran. I was an 0311, an infantry rifleman in the Marine Corps. I deployed to a combat deployment to Afghanistan. And that sign was made today. This is the sign I've been bringing here for a while now.
So that sign over there, I'm going to have John just kind of move the camera around just to get it real quick. It says, ICE drones are Boots cosplaying. Yeah. I think folks, so I've got family in the military, so I understand a lot of that. Yeah. But can you just walk folks through who maybe don't have that background?
Sure, yeah. So Boots would be referring to somebody who's in the military who perhaps didn't have a combat deployment. And I've got no issue with anybody in that position. The point here is that I think that ICE will recruit people who have fragile egos about their time in the military, and now they seek to terrorize their own communities because they feel like they didn't do enough for their country, and this is their way of doing so. So it's, to be honest, it was just to piss somebody off. So I stood at the very front there on top of the divide, hoping that one person would see it and get triggered. And if I could do that today, that would be enough for me. And I feel I'm in a position of being able to hold that sign. And I just want them to know that terrorizing your own community isn't the way to make yourself feel better about yourself and the way that you've been able to serve your country up to this point.
So using that phrase, ICE drones, I mean, do you see them as really being kind of mindless and just following a central authority the way like bees would in a hive? Is that the reference you're making?
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, I had to explain to somebody earlier who said, what do you mean, like the flying drones? And I said, oh, no, not at all.
That's what I assumed you meant at first, too.
Yeah, so I was really looking for a word that best said mindlessly following orders. And to me, drones was the best word that really got at what I was trying to say, which is, to me, that really speaks to the entirety of the American fascist movement. It's just their supporters are people who can't justify their positions using any level of logic or rationality or morality. It is just, I have been told because the people around me have said, and therefore I'm going to regurgitate. Because once you start stacking their points together, their logic immediately falls apart because it's illogical, and even outside of being just amoral.
So let's walk through the second sign. So the second sign says... says ICE is the enemy within, just to set that up, because I'm not sure exactly how much John is able to get in the frame here. But yeah, so explain that for us a little bit.
Yeah, this is just to say that as a veteran, like I said, when we think about your oath to office and protecting against enemies, foreign and domestic, ICE is the domestic enemy that we were tasked to protect our communities against. And so this started, the genesis of this thought was, I thought my message was, as a Marine Corps combat veteran, this is exactly what we were told to concern ourselves with, and this is what a domestic enemy looks like. It's exactly what we're seeing. And so I couldn't fit all that in a sign, and this was my way of succinctly trying to put that message and say, this is exactly what we all 10 years ago and beyond understood to mean what a domestic terrorist looked like, is people without due process, kidnapping people off their streets, taking people out of their communities without cause, racial profiling. It is not thinly veiled fascism. It is explicit, on the nose, tyrannical, authoritarian fascism in the purest sense, and they're not even trying to hide it. And the only way that can be the case is if people, like I said earlier about drones, mindlessly follow orders and don't question what they say, because you can't rationalize it.
So I think that already probably goes a little way to explaining why you're out here today. This is you attempting to be very intentional, I assume, is what it sounds like, in your resistance to that mindless movement.
Yeah, exactly. I think that all of us right now need to ask ourselves, what power do I have and what can I do? And whatever that is, however small, however large, we all need to understand that there is an American fascist movement taking place, and all of those who don't want a closed society, a totalitarian society, must do our part to combat that. And this is our moment. And if me standing here and 3 people see this sign is what my power is allowing, then that's what I'll do. And I'll do whatever I can. And if everybody takes that perspective that doesn't agree with what they're seeing, which is the majority of Americans, then we can remove them from power.
Let's just get a little bit of the biography of you a little bit. First of all, is this your first time out here at Broadview, or have you been out here a few times?
I've been out here a few times. Yep. I started coming last week, and I've come a few times since. I've started by doing patrols for ICE in my community. So that's what I had been doing. And so I've been mostly protecting against teachers and community members as they're leaving work and trying to notify them when there's ICE in the area.
Yeah. Explain those patrols a little bit more for folks who haven't been like we have, like here on the ground in Chicago. What is all the work that you're doing in those patrols?
Yeah, so we'll have organizations. We'll have a text group that will at every day. There'll be a time when patrols will go out. People sign up for them. We'll have multiple cars driving the area as people are leaving their jobs. We'll notify them if any ICE is in the area, and if there is, then they get alternative ways of getting home that tries to avoid ICE if we're identifying where they're located.
Got it. Yep. So the that work that you're doing, I mean, that you have to come out here and protest. You feel like you need to be part of this intentional opposition to a mindless movement here in the United States. In the United States, like the country that I'm talking about is our country that we grew up, lived in, and that we were educated in school and told by so many people is the greatest country on earth. That's what's happening here, and the fact that you need to patrol your own neighborhood's streets in this moment. I mean, essentially acting as like private security for just like your friends and neighbors.
Exactly.
Can you just
I want to build on that point. You said something there that sparked a thought to me. I had to explain this to my kids. I have three sons, 2, 4, and 6. And I took them with me because I didn't have childcare for them. I had to bring them with me on these patrols. And I didn't want to do that without them understanding what I'm talking about. So I had to explain to them ICE. And I had to explain to them what was going on. And my wife was like, do we really think that's appropriate for their age? And I said, no, it isn't. But unfortunately, this is what it comes to. Like, unprecedented times come from unprecedented measures, and I would love to not have to explain to my 6- and 4-year-old what fascism is. But here I am, and I have no choice because I need them to understand why it's not right of me to drag them out of the house and have them driving around without having any idea what I'm doing. And I think that they're owed an explanation, and I'm not going to lie to them. So, unfortunately, they have to get exposure into a topic that no child should have to, but it's happening around them, and it's just an unfortunate reality.
Yeah, that's something that I have now heard repeatedly, like firsthand, like parents. Today I was in the Lakeview neighborhood where there were a lot of young families that just got tear gassed. Yesterday, where ICE was out patrolling heavily, a lot of young families out there, and then listening to them like try to explain to their kids, like, why is there a news camera here in our neighborhood right now? Like, how do you begin to explain that? Right. I was outside of a school on Friday where the parents were all out there to do a lot of that same patrol work. A lot of parents and community members were there because ICE had been out in those communities. Yeah. And I'd been out in the community recently, and a lot of the kids asking, why all the hullabaloo here outside of our elementary school right now?
Exactly.
And just hearing like the strained parents. So like, what are you telling to your kids who are like, I think you said like 2, 6, and 8 were the ages?
2, 6, and 4.
2, 6, and 4. Yeah. Excuse me. So what are you, how do you explain fascism to a child? Right. And I mean, how does it make you feel as a parent that you feel like you need to in this moment?
Yeah, I'll start with the second question. How does it make me feel? It makes me emotional to think that I have to do that, to expose them to a concept so evil at such a young age. I just want them to be able to play and have fun and enjoy, and their childhoods have been COVID and fascism, and it's terrible to me that this is the reality that I'm in, and I don't want to have to do that. I, on principle, as a parent, have always said I'm going to be honest with my kids. I have always parented from a perspective of, if I can't tell you, I'm just going to tell you I can't tell you. I never lie to my kids. And for the longest time, I didn't explain this because I didn't need to. And now I've come to the point where I was faced with the decision of tell them the truth or lie to them. And when that decision came, I've always said I'm going to tell them the truth. And that's what changed it from I could just say nothing to now I feel like it's unavoidable. There's too much happening, and now it's in our face. Your first question was around how do you explain it. I have tried to frame the topic to such a young audience from the perspective of trying to explain how there are people who believe that different people should have different rights, or that different people should be treated different ways. And I've always explained it from the perspective of, imagine if somebody said that you, for a reason, because they don't like your name, because they don't like the color of your hair, because they don't like the color of your eyes. Did you pick any of those things? No? So why, would it be fair that somebody didn't like you for those reasons? No? Well, that's what this is all about. Donald Trump and his administration, this is just racism, and it all stems from racist ideals and white supremacy, and it's all because they think that certain people, for reasons that they didn't choose, where they're born, what the color of their skin, the borders by which they live, should dictate how they're treated. And that has always been the central thesis of the way I've communicated fascism to my kids, instead of focusing on the reduction of freedom and your rights as a citizen. That to me I thought was too, over their heads and highbrow, if you will.
So we've seen the Trump administration wants to deploy National Guard troops here in the state of Illinois. They're being temporarily barred right now by the federal courts, though that could change any day here if the Supreme Court weighs in and sides with the administration. But we've also now seen when Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was just asked the other day about some rumors that have been circulating online about a response force within the National Guard to be deployed to all 50 states come by no later than April, seemingly likely in the reaction to the invocation of the Insurrection Act or something like that. I'm listing all of this off to really ask about your experience in the military, the training that you received.
Yeah.
Is that training appropriate to be used on American cities, on American streets?
No. I mean, it's my experience was as an infantry rifleman in the Marine Corps. I had very specific purposes of that training, and it was to fight a war. And to think that anybody would think that is the same training that you would apply to quelling civil unrest as they see it in our communities is laughably tyrannical. It's there's nothing more to say. The answer is no to your question, and I think that everybody in the military would know that to be the case. We didn't train to do any amount of passive or nonviolent intermediate steps. There's just fighting wars, and that's the whole purpose. And they will say that themselves. You had Pete Hegseth himself. He'll say that that's what they're trained for. So again, with this logical fallacy, he'll say that we're trained to win wars, and then he'll say that his troops are capable of being in American streets quelling civil unrest. You can't make that make sense unless you just ignore logic, morality, and the Constitution.
So then, if, as you say, the military's trained to go to war, I mean, do you see the administration right now that its intention is to make war on Americans?
I believe that fascism's intent is to scare people into obedience. And I think that Timothy Snyder said it, that he said, they want you to give up your rights freely. They want you to give them what they want without them having to even ask for it. And the more that they terrorize communities, the more that they are attacking neighbors, the neighbor then is going to be scared and not stand up, not be here, not speak out, not vote them out. And that's by design. That's just what fascism is. It's just fear tactics, and I think that's all it is. The effectivity of their mission is completely beside the point. The tangible everyday activity. It's all just to terrorize the American citizens into silence.
Thank you very much, man. Is there anything else you want to add while you have the platform?
I would encourage anybody in this moment to read Karl Popper's The Open Society and Its Enemies. And if you want to learn how to combat fascism, not just in the micro level, in the everyday, with social media posting and signs and protests, and those things are all wonderful and we should keep doing them, but the way to have sustained peace and to not allow fascism and the seeds of fascism to have fertile ground to grow is to create a system that combats tyranny upstream and before it can even start. And I think the playbook, the landmark work that speaks to that is Karl Popper's The Open Society and Its Enemies, and I want more people to make themselves familiar with that message, because right now we need that more than ever.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Yep, thanks. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll take that. Definitely.
Fuck you! Fuck you, Russia!
If I was at work, think about it. If I was at work, I would say, hey, go, I didn't know that. No, you didn't. If my employer told me that, I would say, you're a fucking piece of shit. It's serious. Like, does that not make sense? Like, would you? Like, if your employer tells you to do that, would you do it? If yes, that's right. Where are you from? Outside. Yeah. Just moved. Okay, I live in Washington. I live in So I just moved here. Yeah. So I just earlier today, somebody said, "Where are you from?" I said, "That's a weird question."
I say, like your sign.
Like, is that ironic?
Don't like the sign like that.
So, I did that a couple weeks ago. I put my foot up, and I would push the tip on my swing.
Oh, that's clever. I like that a lot. That's
And that was my stretching sign. I felt like I needed to stretch my legs. And I was like eye to eye with ISB at the time. I don't believe
All right, guys. So it's right now it is. Let me see the time. I believe it's 5:40. Right? Is it 5:40? Yep, 5:40. So another 20 minutes and protest time is up. So here's JT again.
Yeah, another 20 minutes, and then protest time is up, as John just said, because we'll be hitting that curfew that has been set here in Broadview, Illinois, for these protests out here. Who knows when exactly that end time will be? Because John and I have been out here when the state troopers move in early, and I mean, there was the last Saturday that we were here. It was 2 weeks ago. These protests were ended about a half hour early by the state troopers. So who's to say that it won't be ended now? But it's been a much more relaxed presence for law enforcement out here today, I will say, and it's been a smaller crowd, so a more subdued crowd here as well. So there certainly isn't much justification for law enforcement to move in and clear this out with any kind of real force. So we'll continue to monitor it, but that's the thing. And we also haven't seen a whole lot of antagonism from ICE or from the Department of Homeland Security out here, which is a positive development, because anytime that we do see violence out here during these protests, it's usually been because that it's usually been initiated or at least antagonized in some way by the Department of Homeland Security. You hear the curses there being lobbed towards that passing vehicle just there. Looked to me like that was a state trooper vehicle, and yeah, based on where it is pulling off to the side, I assume that it is either state trooper or the local sheriff's office. But there's a lot of frustration here in the crowd for those local law enforcement, because they are in effect keeping this road here clear for the Department of Homeland Security's vehicles to continue to be able to pass, preventing these protesters from being up actually closer to that building where they want to be out demonstrating. There's a lot of frustration with this crowd, or from this crowd towards local law enforcement and towards some of their state and local leaders for establishing these protest areas, for establishing these protest hours, for putting these limitations on First Amendment rights out here, because they feel that law enforcement are in effect doing some of the Department of Homeland Security's job. Now you see there, law enforcement are just turning on a light, and just them getting this close to the crowd is enough to get the crowd to chant, "Who do you serve? Who do you protect?" We see there the rabbi across the street. He's been a fixture out here as a kind of a leading energy out here, and he has played the cha-cha slide. to get these protesters dancing. We've seen dance used as a form of protest not only here, but in Portland and in cities across the country as a way to show, hey, we are nonviolent. We are here in just a nonviolent demonstration against this administration's policies and the effects that it is having on our community. So don't brutalize us. Oh, law enforcement getting on the loudspeakers up there, telling people to get behind the barricades, because there's a couple of people off to our right who are standing in the street, which they are not, which is not part of the designated protest area. The designated protest area is off to the side to keep that street clear, which is why those demonstrators are so frustrated, because it keeps this road then clear for those ICE vehicles to operate within. So you see here, this looks like local police are going up to talk to these protesters who are here in the street. Even yesterday we saw police were taking issue with people even sitting on the barricades. We see this police officer. I'm going to try and get closer and get the microphone in so you can hear exactly what he's saying.
These are your fucking priorities. These are your priorities. The kidnappers aren't there, you piece of shit.
In the building!
Okay, so are you gonna get back or not?
I'm fucking back,
Okay, off the roadway.
Okay, yeah, go
That's
ahead.
all I'm
Go
asking.
do your job. Go protect the kidnappers. Go do your fucking job.
Go away, go away,
Piece of
go away.
shit.
Yo, fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Now police walking back across the street, issuing a warning there to those protesters who just did a simple act of walking into a public street. How many times do we do that in our everyday lives? But you do it here, too close to a ICE detention facility, and it's cause for warning of I wasn't able to make out if the officers threatened arrest, but I know that yesterday morning some of these protesters were just sitting on these concrete barriers the way you see so many doing right now, and that was enough to get those people threatened with arrest simply for doing that.
Cha-cha again. Cha-cha now, y'all. Cha-cha again. Turn it out. To the left. Take it back now, y'all.
Yeah, we talked. They said, and we back. Yep, Status Coup back in the building. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Oh, yeah, that's all I
Yeah, man. Hey, Jen.
Hey.
Take that.
Yeah.
Take it back now, y'all.
All right, guys. JT is catching up with some people we have spoken to out here. Some familiar faces. Don't forget, smash that like button, share this live stream. 8 minutes until protest time is over. Let's see what the state police decide to do.
Before we go, can we make space for someone want to say something over here? Yeah, right. And I want to become a video, but I want to, like, let's go!
Hey, JT, what's up? State police are coming out. Law enforcement coming out.
So here we have law enforcement coming out. This looks like it might be the sheriff's office. We'll see when the badges get a little bit closer, but you can just see them here walking down the street, and that's enough to get the jeers from the crowd. People chanting, "Whose streets? Our streets." Again, making reference to the fact that they are not allowed in the streets out here to protest the Department of Homeland Security in the manner that they would like to. You can see they're conferencing there with local police. And this is just standing there in the middle of the street, and and this presence is in and of itself enough to get a response out of the crowd, which has always been a point that is confused not only us but other journalists who've been out here covering it, is that police will kind of insert themselves into proceedings, even as the protests are, you know, pretty low-key energy. As we've seen out here this evening, police will kind of insert themselves in and kind of they'll get the crowd riled up, and it doesn't make a ton of sense. We're going to walk around to the other side of the street here to maybe try and get a better look at exactly what police are trying to do right now.
You are all aiding and abetting.
One protester yelling through a megaphone that you are aiding and abetting the kidnapping of children, making a reference to, of course, ICE and its operations here in the city. Law enforcement all looking towards that crowd that we were just in, that they just came out of. Now making their way towards us here down the street. Yeah, they're coming here, and they're coming up to the police chief. This is the Chief Mills for the village of Broadview. He has the big police written on his back. He's the one to the left, the one here closest to us. That is not the chief. It's the man just to his left. It's the police chief. And again, like, police come this way, the crowd moves down this way as well. Because they don't really have an outlet for all of their protesting right now, because they are being held so far back from the ICE facility that a lot of their chants don't even really reach the building in a meaningful sense. So a lot of it then gets directed here at the local police.
Let them know I got to change batteries in the microphone.
Yep. We're going to change the batteries in our microphone really quick, so you'll lose audio here for just a second, but it'll come back momentarily. John's fishing those out right now. You see more law enforcement officers coming out here, and this might be the... Yep.
Audio check?
Audio check, 1, 2, 3. John, are you able to hear me? You see here, police still talking. This is a lot of the local police down at this end, and down at the other end is where now the sheriff's deputies are. This might be them preparing to shut down the protest area, as the designated protest hours will end here in just 7 minutes. Yeah, this is generally the time when we see most of the interaction over the last couple of weeks between protesters and law enforcement, is when these designated protest hours come to an end. It's frustration among the crowd for being limited to protesting only during certain hours, and the changing of the rules constantly for these protesters, where they've expressed to us repeatedly that they feel confused about what the rules are out here. Because as I said, just yesterday they weren't allowed to sit on the concrete barriers that designate those protest areas, but they were today, and they were allowed to today, and they were allowed to the day before yesterday. So these constant changing of rules, the implementation of the protest hours, these are things that are frustrating for the protesters. Now I see local police also walking back down the street here. I'll note that the energy here in the crowd has very much changed here in the last 20 minutes or so. It's much more tense. You see here, police are confronting a man.
I waive all liability of the city if I get hurt. You can put it on camera. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
What did he tell you, man?
Get down.
Get down? Yeah.
I waive liability for the city.
Got it.
Doing nothing illegal.
Yeah.
Love your content, by the way.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So, would you mind if I interviewed you real quick about what he just told you?
I'd rather not be on camera.
Understood, man. Understood. Police lining up here at one end, likely preparing to clear this out. And that gentleman who was standing up there on the concrete barrier, he just told me, I'm not sure if it came across on the microphone, but he had just told me that the police had come over and talked to him about telling him to get down off the concrete barrier, and he said that he was waiving liability for the city for whatever happened for him because he was going to continue to stand there on that concrete barrier. One protester yelling out to the police there that they cannot be talking in this street as it is not a free speech zone. Again, making a joke about the fact that protest is only being allowed in certain areas. Law enforcement has referred to these in this village of Broadview, referred to these areas here blocked off by these concrete barricades as protest areas. The protesters call them free speech zones as a way to imply that free speech is not allowed anywhere else in the village. See the police there. They're being backlit by a portable light that they have set up, casting long shadows in a not subtle metaphor here over this crowd. And completely overshadowing, for at least this moment, the ICE detention facility beyond. Where I'll note that there is more law enforcement down that way as well, closer to the facility. In fact, there's quite a few people standing on the ICE side of the barricades down there. Can't tell if they are Department of Homeland Security officials or not. It looks like some have the masks on their faces. John, I'm not sure if you'd be able to see it, but can you pan the... No?
What, all the way down there?
Yeah. No, yeah, we can't see that far. Yeah. But I just want to note that it does look like the Department of Homeland Security has some masked officers out here. They're just milling about. They're not...
I think it's either sheriff's or state.
Some of them look like... Some of them have the face coverings on. Okay. And they're standing on the federal side of the barriers. Okay. So, yeah, to me it looks like... there are some federal agents out here as well, but they might just be watching the proceedings more than anything else, as they don't look... generally, when we see them ready to move into the crowd, they'll be wearing helmets or something similar, and I don't see any of that down there, though there is certainly also local law enforcement down there as well. We're going to try and zoom in and show you. So those guys that you're showing there, John, I think those are actually like state or sheriff's deputies, state police or sheriff's deputies. Yeah, those guys over there, that looks to me like federal agents with the face. Some of them have the face coverings on. Of course, it's difficult for our camera to make it out in this lighting, but just trying to show you what the scene is like out here right now. Like I said, that the mood of the crowd really changing here in just the last few minutes as police started to make their way around, getting a lot more tense out here. And so if you are just joining in here in the last few minutes, I'll just note that we are in Broadview, Illinois, outside of the Broadview ICE detention facility, where protests continue because Operation Midway Blitz continues. Operation Midway Blitz being the name for the Department of Homeland Security's operations, for the Trump administration's operations here in the city, where ICE officers are going from neighborhood to neighborhood and disappearing people.
It is now 6 p.m. You must disperse the area and leave immediately. This is your first dispersal warning.
Broadview police just there came on their megaphone to say that it is now 6 p.m. They must disperse the area. And saying this is your first warning. And again, crowd taking exception to that. Police are now clearing this driveway that we're standing here in front of to make room for this police vehicle to pass. In terms of other cameras out here right now, I want to point out that it looks like it's just one local outlet. There might be another local television station around here. I saw at least 2 local television station cameras earlier. It's possible one went home now. But it's just one local TV. One local TV camera that I can see, and then it looks like a whole bunch of just folks with cell phones and maybe 1 or 2 independent outlets. So there's not a lot in terms of press out here. So if you're important, or if you feel what we're doing here is important, being able to actually give a national audience a look as to what's happening here on the ground in Broadview, please consider subscribing at statuscoup.com/join. Hear the beating of the drums there, cheers from the crowd. Police just saying again, you are to disperse the area and leave immediately. And then on that roof, far across the road there, we can now see that there are a couple of federal agents up there. That is the rooftop that I said earlier in the broadcast that we can't really zoom in close enough, but maybe you can make them out up there on the rooftop. There's a couple of guys up there just watching, but that is sort of their new crow's nest. The Department of Homeland Security has been using that rooftop as a way to keep an eye on the protests. And they previously used those rooftop perches to fire munitions, fire pepper balls, rubber bullets, and the like into these protesters out here. And it's new that they have now moved over to that rooftop. But yeah, you hear police now driving by again telling people to disperse. Last Saturday there were several arrests out here. Again in the evening hours, as things drew to a close. Not sure what tonight holds. If you would have asked me even just, 20 minutes ago, I would have told you that it seems like it was going to be a calm night. And now, getting lots of yelling directed towards the police. The air is tense. Broadview police. Right. Yeah, this is Broadview police that are out here. It's just Broadview police. In the past, police are starting to move people here off of the concrete barricades. I'll let you listen in.
Yes. 6 o'clock. Let's go. Let's go, people. Let's go. Boys. Let's go. Time up. Let's go. Let's go, people. Let's go. Come on.
Let's go, Jacoby. Ryan. All of you guys. Let's go.
Let's go, people. Let's go. Let's go, people. Let's go. Let's go, people.
Ako ballerina.
That is Police Chief Mills of the Broadview Police Department. It is just his officers out here moving people right now. What we've seen in past weeks is that the state police will actually be the ones who are moving the crowd. So this looks like it is just Broadview police attempting to handle this themselves. What possible escalation would look like is tough to say. The protesters aren't moving right now. They're trying to stay out here and continue to protest. They're yelling something over there.
You're violating our rights to the Constitution. We have the right to protest. There shouldn't be hours. Yeah, it doesn't matter. There's no hours in protesting.
We're going to move back across the road now to try and get this conversation that is happening between the police chief and some of the other officers with the crowd that is on the other side of the road. But yeah, you heard the protesters there saying that this is wrong, violation of our rights, of our First Amendment, making reference there to their First Amendment right to protest, that they don't feel that these protest hours are just and are an unnecessary restriction on their freedom of speech.
When I'm trying to, like I said, I wanted to show that this demonstration is peaceful.
Thank you for
and
being
then it's being
honored.
You know, at the start, absolutely, sure. I don't have a problem shaking your hand, sir. But again, it's not going to change over. You came to the village board meeting. We appreciate what you all stated. It was taken into consideration. But like I said, I've tried to implement something. I don't want state police in the county to come and get, I don't want to say, you know, start pushing people out. You know, we understand. But as it is today, we are still enforcing the curfew.
I appreciate that.
Until my mayor makes changes. And a lot of that will come from what she sees and how the crowd, like last night, you all was wonderful. I don't know who was here last night.
I was here every day for 30 days. You have to understand, when she holds up a picture of a case of beer on someone's car, that happened 3 weeks ago, and that's the point of context of her not doing this. We're out here peaceful. We're dancing and having fun. Why is the only piece of evidence she has to justify her actions is someone with a case of beer on top of it? I understand that. Okay. But see, that's why everything went down on the board meeting.
I hear you, but
that's why we all got mad.
I can't speak for the mayor.
I understand. But you understand why we all got mad at that meeting. It's like a case of beer. We're out here dancing, having fun, until she has the problem with a case of beer on a car from 3 weeks ago.
But what I want to do, we want to make some adjustments the best way we can. But we have to show that, like I said, last night you all were phenomenal. We appreciate that.
And we will continue to be phenomenal. But the problem is when the agitators come out and they get this car upset. So like I said, we will move back. And I will get everyone to move back.
I appreciate it, like I said. But it is being worked.
We would appreciate seeing the same kind of effort back and forth and saying, hey, these guys are behaving us. Let's extend the curfew to 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
have a conversation.
Absolutely. We are engaging in that conveation with my mayor.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm just letting you know the end. That's why I said we asked. You don't see the state out here or the county. Yes.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen other protests like in other parts of the country, like Portland? They have a blue line before. It works really well. It keeps people civil, and they only peacefully protest. Clearly, the issue is that when state comes out here, or they're backed up by ICE, they come out with severe aggression. The people read the room. And then they report us as if we're just animals here.
I'm not. I can't. I am for Broadview Police Department. You see what I'm saying? Now listen. I heard you. So I've had conversations. That's why you don't see the state police out here right now. I want them to stay.
What is your proposition for the mediation for the ordinance? Because the ordinance.
Well, we're working to see what can be. I don't know. I'm not the mayor. I am the police chief. We are having conversation. And yes, I am an integral part of the conversation because I'm the one. My staff are out here 7 days a week until this. All I'm saying is right now, the curfew is still in effect as it stands. We are still looking, like I said, we review all of the cameras out here. We're trying to see how the crowd is. It's going to take two. It's going to, both. We hear what you're saying.
You've been very cooperative, though. So far, we are not aggressive. We keep in mind that we come and we clean after we protest. And we have a whole setup over there that's very organized. If we were on malicious agenda, we would not care for these things. When we're actively looking for resources to help the community, we're building systems to better ourselves and those around us, because the times that we are facing are so unprecedented that everybody is in shock and survival mode, and the only thing that we're getting from the mayor, from other state officials is
let me just say this. I'm listening to you, but like I said, I have to have, like I explained him, yesterday was phenomenal. Everyone left. We're not rushing you all out like in the past. We gave our orders, then we started pushing people. We don't want to do that. But again, our residents, people that talk to my mayor, things like that, when they see like now, we have an order. I mean, whether you all agree with it or not, as it stands, it is still an executive order that myself and my officers have to follow.
Not one community member from Broadview stood up at that village hall meeting and imposed or said anything that they're in favor of that. Nobody spoke on that. Nobody spoke on the fact that they wanted that.
We get a lot of phone. But I agree with you. it's what it is. So, but what we need to do is, like I said, we have to show that we all are engaged both ways, which is we have to leave.
All right, guys, let's go now.
We have to leave, okay?
We gotta go because
in order for me to talk to the mayor, we have to leave.
Moving out.
Okay?
We look forward to some resolution next week,
Okay.
Mills.
I'm going to do my best.
Thank you for having such diplomacy,
yes.
unlike others.
I'm going to do my best, I promise. Please, if we could just disperse. We don't want anyone to go to jail, please. Please.
Police chief saying there doesn't want anyone to go to jail, wants the protesters to leave. Threat for arrest there if they do not leave, though the protesters complimenting the police chief on having that dialogue with them at least. Police chief now continuing his conversation here down the line, and he did say that he wants his police department to handle this because he does not want the sheriff's office or the state police to come in next.
Oh, you have coming in this. It's a unified command. But we discuss, we look at what happened the week before, we try to make the best changes possible. So again, I ask, I think for the most part, the demonstrations are very peaceful. People are obedient in the sense that they do leave. But like I explained to the group there, we still have an executive order that's in place until there's my mayor and our legal staff makes a determination based on what they see on things like this. This is where it is. But I have asked state police, are they here? They are here.
Yeah.
But they're not out here as in the past. Yes.
Let me ask you real quick, if Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, will you be facing that way with us?
I can't even answer. I don't know what that looks like.
Have you all drawn it up? Planned it?
There's been many conversations with the governor's office and everyone else. I can't answer what. I've never been through that. In my almost 40
that'd be a
years.
whole new. When's the last time that was invoked? I don't know. You guys know.
People, please. We don't want anyone to get arrested. Let's go.
For it, sir. At least talk about it.
Oh, it's being talked about, sir. It is. It is.
Police Chief Mills there just saying that he has been involved in conversations about what it looks like out here if the Insurrection Act gets invoked by President Trump for the city to deploy potentially troops out here. Wouldn't say exactly what those conversations all entailed or what those plans would involve. Just saying we've never been there before. Can't really anticipate it. But he is saying here doesn't want anyone to get arrested and is asking people to leave because he says that if his officers can't take care of this, then they would call in the state troopers or the sheriff's deputies, who are law enforcement that we have seen use force, including batons, donning riot gear as a way to deal with these crowds. Crowds are attempting to engage a dialogue with the local police out here as a way to try and insist that they should be remaining here. If you heard of references made to a village board meeting during those discussions between the police chief and some of these demonstrators out here, that is for a village board meeting that happened just recently where a lot of the demonstrators were out there to make their voices heard to the mayor of Broadview, asking for relaxation of a lot of the restrictions that were placed on their right to protest out here. They left that meeting. The protesters left that meeting very frustrated. I even got a couple of calls from some of those demonstrators who wanted to tell me what had happened inside of that meeting. So the tension right now, if you're just joining us, is that it is the end of the protest hours here outside of the Broadview ICE detention facility. It is past 6 o'clock. This is when protests are supposed to be. This is when the protests are supposed to be done, according to the village of Broadview, wanting to move people here off of these protest areas.
Protest ICE, guys. We don't want to protest you. We want to fucking protest. Oh, sorry.
No, you're right.
Hi.
Sean.
Last time I did this, I didn't know you were live, so I kept mumbling.
That is okay. We're all human. Sean.
Buddy.
So this is Sean. He's a demonstrator. He's been out here several times before. Sean, We've interviewed you before.
Yeah.
I wanted to just ask you a little bit there about the dialogue that you just had with the police chief.
Yeah.
So what were you asking him, and what were the responses that you were getting back?
I was asking him, I was kind of trying to ask him like theoretical questions about the Insurrection Act that we kind of all feel like is going to be
imposed upon us as a country.
Yeah, and just some context there. The Insurrection Act would empower the president to be able to send troops and really take more of a direct role in how affairs here in the Chicagoland area are handled. You were asking the chief, if he's having conversations about the Insurrection Act. He says that he's been involved in those conversations. Wouldn't devolve a lot of information about what that looks like. But how does it make you, what's the emotion that goes through your head when you hear that he's at least talking about acknowledging that reality, that possibility?
I guess it's good, but I forget what else he kind of said. He mentioned something about not being prepared to think about that, and that's a little scary because, again, it's like what we were talking about the other day, like Governor Pritzker, like, we need you here physically as a leader, not just with your words. So it's kind of the same notion of like, what are we doing here? Where are the adults in the room? Why are just these random citizens like seemingly the only line of defense of our amendment, our First Amendment rights, all of the Constitution essentially? Why are we the front line and not the police? And what are they going to do if the Insurrection Act gets invoked? Are they on our side? Will they turn around? Will some of them? Maybe. I don't know. It's crazy to think about.
And you were, the police kept saying there. Yeah, we've got one pro-ICE protester here standing behind us just to acknowledge that presence.
A singular one.
Yeah, really the only one we've seen out here today. I wanted to.
That's her right.
That dialogue that you were having with the chief. Did you find it productive? How are you feeling about that? He's saying, I don't want anybody to get arrested. Basically, leave or threatening the implication of that, then arrests would follow. How are you feeling about it?
It's been an interesting transition from protesting ICE to protesting Illinois State Police to protesting now Broadview Police, who's a very small department. They are not a large number of police officers, so they really are not equipped to handle this sort of situation if things did, erupt. But ISP's obviously in reserve back there is what he mentioned. Beyond that, I'm not sure. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you're all right. But you were talking about this, you're now several steps removed from protesting ICE, which you wanted. We're outside the Broadview ICE detention facility. We've heard secondhand reports that it's people being held 60 to a cell in there, forced to sleep standing up. When you're out here and you're now the police are interceding between what you want to be protesting and yourself, What's the feeling?
Yeah, last week it was similarly like this, empty of police, and when they were kind of back there by the cars in the facility, I had tried to walk up to it and into the facility, and I was arrested pretty much close to the door. And because it's frustrating, I just felt so compelled, and everyone there does. It's like when there's just so much injustice, so close to you. And yeah, I've heard the same reports from personal friends that have been in there. There's people without their shirts. There's trash all over. It smells. It's extremely hot in there, I've heard, without ventilation. So it's just infuriating, and it's sad, and it's tragic. It's just insane.
So what would effective local leadership, response from local authorities be out here in your mind that would actually facilitate your right to protest?
I think, again, just let us get back to ICE, because everyone here, as scary as the notion is to actually protest ICE directly, because we've all seen it firsthand, that's what we want to do. That's why we're here. So to throw in proverbial sand in the gears of their operations, because when there's 50 or so of them guarding us here, they're not out abducting all of our neighbors across the state and especially the city. So to not be doing that is frustrating. What we need is local authorities to just stand down. Get the hell out. If they don't want to be the leaders like we're talking about, they need to just stand down, stand out of the way, and let us do the job.
Are they effectively doing the job of ICE by being out here and controlling you guys?
Yeah, they're complicit, 100%. I'm not personally mad at them. They're showing their face. They are doing their job as and I have law enforcement in my family, so I understand what they think they are supposed to do. And it's like Mr. Mills said, this is new territory for them too, so they're probably just as scared as everybody else, and they think they're doing the best job they can. But at the end of the day, they are very much complicit in abductions and in the sacrilege of our Constitution and of the people that live here.
Yeah, and I'll note that, since the beginning out here, there has been, I don't want to call it warmth from the protesters towards local police by any means, but at least the local police out here were acknowledging that the federal government was the problem, was the ones who were doing a lot of the instigating of the violence out here, and that led to at least some feelings of, I don't want to say support, but at least like yeah, and sort of like tepid, like kind of like, okay, we're at least not complete enemies in this fight, right? Because they were looking for things like the road to be open and public safety along those lines, and yeah, to have them out here like interceding, like I certainly understand like the frustration that you're expressing out here in all of this, like so. I mean, like, I assume that you would want there to be like an elimination of like the actual like acceptable protest hours. You'd want to be able to get up to the building. Like, what does an ideal setup out here look like?
Yeah, I think the ideal setup would be if we are directly in front of the ICE facility, as we were like a month and a half or 2 months ago. That's the ideal setup, because then that's when we're expressing our First Amendment right. We're too far removed here, verbally, like, and visually. Like, we're not. This corral pen that we were in, it is not an example of our First Amendment rights. It's a strange position.
Yeah, and so for folks at home, if you've just tuned in to what's been happening here, out here in Broadview, Illinois, or in the Chicagoland area in the just last couple weeks, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it is like that this is as close as the protesters have ever been able to get. That is not true. From the outset of the operation here, protesters were out front of the building, which is now about a block away. They were out front of that building, on the sidewalk, just feet from the building, protesting there. They've been steadily moved back and back and back and further away to the point where, yes, as you just say, can't really protest in the way that you want, express yourself in the way you want, try to hamper ICE's operations here in the city in the way that you want. And it wasn't even just like those few weeks ago. There have been prayer groups and stuff that have been coming out to outside of this facility now for nearly 2 decades. Yeah. So that is the normal. What is happening here with the pulling back of the protesters' restrictions on the First Amendment rights out here in Broadview is not normal. That is the development. That is what is new. That is what has actually been leading to, at least in my eyes, a lot of like the confrontations out here, that there wouldn't necessarily be this confrontation with local law enforcement had those rules not existed. So how do you try to continue this dialogue, if at all, with local leaders like Chief Mills?
That's a great question, and I have to ponder that a bit. I was surprised, even his openness right there, to divulge a couple of the things he did from just a random person asking him. So I think it's something that maybe can be explored, but I don't know. What would it take at the end of the day for them to turn around and stand with us? I'm not sure.
Sean, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to turn our attention back here to police who are back on the bullhorn again. Who again, like, shouting instructions here to the to the crowd, trying to get them to leave. Crowd yelling, "We know what time it is," essentially saying, stop reminding us, we want to be out here protesting past that 6 p.m. protest deadline.
There is a curfew. We are protesting.
As soon as the police try to talk, the crowd drowns them out, trying to say, we already know what you want to say. You're trying to warn us, threaten us with arrest. We've heard it. You know, they're saying like, hey, we've heard you before, police. You don't need to keep saying it. We're going to continue to demonstrate regardless. And there you get the sense of the scale of the crowd John is showing you there. A few more people across the street as well. Some more here who have now, it was that this whole front area of this protest area right up here in front of us, that the police had successfully cleared that, and now people have filled back in.
Get them. I think we saw them kidnapping somebody this afternoon. They're kidnapping people because you guys are helping them. Protecting Nazis. You're complicit in their abductions, guys. At the end of the day, you're complicit. I talked to the families.
I talk to them, and I bring them to your gate. I know what they're feeling. You talk to them. Show a spine. Think about the people you're hurting. Think of the people you're hurting. Thank you for the garbage cans. Think of the people you're hurting.
Go back home.
Are you thinking about it?
There's nothing moral in using violence against your citizens. You are speaking their mind.
Again, it's still just local Broadview police out here, though they have...
State-sanctioned violence is still violence! You guys are violent against your own people! It's violence!
We did this last week. It was
Same
you,
speech.
we yelled, ISPD came out, they beat the shit out of us. We will do it again. It's not me speaking for everyone. It's
Just local police out here so far, though we did hear from Chief Mills that sheriff's deputies, we've seen them out here, and Illinois State Police, I haven't really seen a presence from them out here so far tonight, but the chief made reference that they are here nearby somewhere and could be brought out to either help clear these areas or affect arrests. Last Saturday there were several arrests out here, again right near that that curfew time. We are now past the curfew by 27 minutes. Police had started the process of clearing here right around 6 o'clock Central Time. Now they're just, police are content to stand here for right now. Not exactly clear what's happening, what they're waiting on. What's that? Yeah, we've seen law enforcement have have set up these phones that look like a streaming setup of some kind that they set up, or just there to record or otherwise captured data of some kind. We've seen that out at these protests repeatedly. It's hard for us to focus given the lighting situation, but it's right underneath that big light out there. One of the protesters is just saying here, I want to be yelling at ICE.
I want to be heckling ICE. You're letting them use all of us every single time you guys clock in and stand here. You're letting them use us. And then you try to tell me you can't see them because you put a spotlight out. Zoom in your phone and look on the roof. You have a phone with a camera. They're on the roof. Again, just like last week when I gave you guys the same speech. It makes us uncomfortable. I'm like so awkward when I know I'm like rolling. And submission to the bullshit that happens here. Remember, you are not like God. You are a person, and your job is to eat shit. Silent cops are guilty too. You will get caught up. Come on. Unconstitutional. Again, I'm going to try to be as least awkward as possible. So.
Well, I mean, you certainly weren't awkward there in that little interaction we just caught with you and police. So I'm standing here with Monica. Monica, you were expressing frustration towards the police. Can you just in case our microphone didn't capture it very well, could you just walk us through what were you trying to say to the Broadview Police Department there?
Yeah, so I was down here saying the exact same message last Saturday to them before the Illinois State Police really brutalized us. But basically, I'm just feeling frustrated because the mayor and the chief of police at this point have yet to open dialogue with the protesters. We've written letters to the mayor. We've tried to call, email. We all went down to the city hall to voice our complaints, and they're still not lifting this unconstitutional executive order. So just a minute ago, I was kind of trying to heckle the chief of police. But basically, I'm just trying to let them know that I don't want to be down here protesting the local PD. I have no beef with them, but they're getting in the way of me being able to heckle ICE and for us what we originally came down here to do. So I'm just getting more and more frustrated as the time goes on because this is very unconstitutional. It feels very un-American, and they keep pushing us out and keep pushing us further away from ICE. And we don't want to have the police as a barrier between us and ICE. We want to be there to document what ICE is doing in and out of the building, and we want to be able to heckle them because they deserve to have pressure on them every single day that they go into our suburbs and our communities and they terrorize us.
Yeah, that executive order that Monica is making reference to there is something that was imposed by the mayor out here in the village of Broadview, putting restrictions on the right to protest out here. For a while, it had been that there were for a long time, protesters were allowed to be right outside the building. Then they got moved back. Then there were established 2 designated protest areas, one where we are currently standing and another on another approach to that ICE facility that ICE was using to come in and out. The mayor then eliminated that protest area, and now everything is concentrated here, and only during the hours of 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. We are now just past that curfew. That's the order that you are calling unconstitutional. That is not allowing the protesters to continue to exercise their First Amendment right past the hour of 6 p.m. And you express that frustration about wanting to be able to document what is happening at the facility. Why is that so important?
I think it's important because when you look back throughout history, when crazy things have happened to societies as a whole, you look at journal entries and you look at individuals' documentation, because a lot of times history slips through the cracks and there's a lot of narrative in the history that they teach us. So it's super important for individuals to document each as individuals what they're seeing, whether it's pulling out your phone and snapping a video of what you're seeing, or if it's getting a journal and literally documenting everything that you see. A few of my concerns this past week is after 6 p.m. when they've made us scatter, there's been ambulances that have come in and out after 6 p.m. And one night there was family members that came here to what I'm assuming deliver supplies or talk to a family member, and it looked like the Illinois State Police were searching the outside of their vehicle with flashlights. So I've seen some weird things after 6 p.m. just in this past week alone. So I'm a little skeptical of why they want us out of here for so long at this point. So I think there's legitimate concerns to us being able to protest for longer, just beyond the fact that it's unconstitutional. There's a lot of stuff going on every single day, and stuff is slipping through the cracks, and it's up to us as the people to document it as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, and I want to ask you a million follow-up questions off of that of what was happening, all this stuff, which I'm sure you're not able to give me probably the level of detail that I'm looking for because you cannot be as close to the facility as you want. Also makes it frustrating from a journalistic standpoint, just being able to document what is out here and actually show how the Department of Homeland Security is operating as it cracks down here on the Chicagoland area and disappears people out of these communities. You already spoke to that a little bit. So when you're trying to communicate to the mayor about how you're feeling, what are the ways that you're reaching out to try and make that point of contact, and what's the response you've gotten back?
So right after the executive order went into place, there was a group of us that wrote a very structured letter to the mayor, basically asking for a permit to move protests on Friday and Saturday nights when it's busiest to another location. And we also requested a police escort. And we also, we requested a few other things, but that's kind of the meat and potatoes of it, and she refused to respond. So this past Monday night, there was a city hall. A bunch of us showed up down there, gave our statements, and at the end of it, it seems like she didn't really hear us. She would rather demonize the protesters for having a case of beer on top of their car. She stated that that was aggressive behavior she's seeing from protesters. So it just seems like she didn't hear anything that we brought up. I mean, there's legitimate concerns of violence. There's people being arrested that shouldn't be being arrested. So there's just a lot of concerns, and it feels like we're not being heard by any public officials whatsoever.
Should also note that I asked to interview the mayor of Broadview, and I never heard back. Just putting that out there, that there has been that attempt by me to reach out as well, try and hear from the village, but crickets. Last Saturday, you were out here when Illinois State Police cleared. There were several arrests. Can you walk us through what happened last Saturday?
Yeah, so last Saturday, it was kind of the same atmosphere as what you're seeing tonight, but they pulled out the state trooper riot line pretty quickly after the 6 p.m. curfew. They held, like, the riot line for a while. I was up front and center, and I've seen video footage online of the state troopers claiming that people threw something at them, and then they claimed it was illegal or like an unlawful assembly. But I don't remember seeing anything thrown at them. And I also, in all the video footage I've seen, I haven't seen anything be thrown. So after a state trooper said that, that's kind of when they pursued on the crowd. But again, I've tried to go back and try to figure out who threw what, and I'm unable to try to, like, piece it together of, like, how that actually came to be. So I have questions about that. But yeah, they just basically pursued us. A lot of people got arrested. We experienced crowd crush. A lot of people got stuck underneath troopers and other protesters. So a lot of us were, like, taking cover. It was really traumatic. It was really aggressive.
Yeah, and obviously that creates a dangerous circumstance when you're talking about crowd crush and how, how dangerous that can turn so fast. With regards to last Saturday, was it, you described it as very similar to this, in terms of the atmosphere. Was there also this sort of weird in-between point, like after 6 p.m., where, like, the police were kind of waiting around like this? I mean, how long was it before state troopers came out?
No, it was definitely a lot faster last week. When I was talking to the chief earlier at the corner right after curfew hit, he had kind of indicated to us that we're trying to talk to him that he specifically did not call in the state troopers tonight, which, if that's the case, I really do appreciate that. It seems like he is trying his best. Again, there's not been really a lot of dialogue from public officials, so I think that's why there's so much frustration at curfew time, is we've tried to take every single legal route that we can to try to contact the officials like we should, and we're just not getting responses. But again, tonight, he's indicating that he did not call in troopers to try to minimize, like, the violence. He also told me that he's also tired of the violence, because that's been one of my big statements to the chief and the police, is I'm just really tired of the violence. A lot of people are getting hurt. We have people down here that are immune compromised. We have people down here with disabilities. There's sometimes children down here. There's elderly people. There's veterans. There's lots of different people that come down here. So I've always been concerned about safety down here. It's always felt very dangerous to be protesting here. So
what would a better protesting situation look like in terms of the hours, where you're allowed to do it? What would be the ideal setup in your mind?
So I've kind of mapped this out in my mind already. I think they should do something similar to what Portland has, which is a neon line to indicate the property line of ICE, and it separates it from the, like, street. So where they used to have the fence on Beach Street, I think that would be an appropriate place to put it. And then I think they should take the free speech barriers down. I think protesters should be able to use Beach Street freely without the zones, without the barriers. And then I also think that there should be 24-hour protesting within reason. So I think the city noise ordinance should be the baseline of, like, noise protests. I think people with signs and chanting and megaphones should be able to assemble until 11 p.m. in coordinates with the city ordinance. And then after that, I think people should be able to assemble 24 hours just to observe, bear witness, record, all the things I've kind of already mentioned. I think it's super important that people have 24 access to this street if they want to come down here and see what's going on.
So to what extent do you feel that local police, state police are really doing the job for ICE? I interviewed another protester just a few minutes ago who said, feels like in effect, they are, because they are interposing and stopping the protesters from doing that, documenting or putting, like, sand in the proverbial gears, that they are in effect doing ICE's job, because otherwise ICE officers would have had to, be the ones doing some of this crowd control. So to what extent do you agree or disagree with that assessment?
Yeah, so I mean, since the executive order went into place and we haven't been able to heckle ICE directly, I mean, Operation Midway Blitz has absolutely grown. So I think we're seeing it in the suburbs, from the violence, the amount of extra time that they have to send people out into the suburbs to terrorize us. Like I was kind of mentioning earlier, I don't know if you guys caught the footage of the men up on the roof or the men in plain clothes behind the barrier, but this is the second Saturday night in a row that the Illinois State Police and the Broadview Police Department has been made aware of the crowd that we believe were being used for White House propaganda footage. So every single time we talk to officers, it's not their jurisdiction. Chief of Police doesn't know. Illinois State Police told me directly last Saturday night when I had this exact same conversation with them that it was not his jurisdiction, but it's got to be someone's jurisdiction. And we just feel uncomfortable. They always have cameras out here. They're always surveilling us very openly. It definitely feels like they're trying to use intimidation tactics against peaceful protesters, and it's kind of weird. It's scary that the United States government would go through such crazy, desperate measures to try to demonize people that are just exercising the First Amendment right. And I think that the police are, like you said, helping them basically amp up Midway Blitz operation in the suburbs because they have more time on their hand. They're not surveilling the streets like they were before.
Yeah, absolutely. And you referenced there being made a part of a propaganda by the White House, and you say that you want law enforcement to step in. I mean, what would you want them to do about it? I mean, I guess maybe I'm just sensitive to it as a journalist. Like, I got to be able to film wherever, you know. Like, so like for that perspective about like how would you like to see law enforcement step in and like try and like put limitations on the federal government in how it is, you know, what it is able to record and how it is able to operate out here in terms of creating that propaganda? Because that's been certainly an observation from us, right? That a lot of it is like the pain is the point because they want it on camera to be able to produce these, you know, social media highlight reels, I guess you say, of cruelty. So, you know, what would an action from local authorities look like on that to you?
So I'm not a legal expert, so I'm not entirely for sure. Sorry. But I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought with all the noise. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I'll just say that police again on a megaphone saying you need to leave the area or you will be subject to arrest.
Can you repeat? Can you summarize the question?
Yeah, the question was really just, would you want law enforcement to step in and mitigate what the federal government is able to do in terms of producing propaganda, recording you guys?
Yeah, so I'm not a legal expert. Obviously, they have a pretty good view of us from the roof, so they're going to do what they want to do. But my whole point is when stuff's getting escalatory and when the police are amping up the pressure on the protesters and the crowd's starting to get stressed because the police are positioning like they're going to kettle us, I think it would just be smart for the police to just keep the propaganda or the propaganda-looking cameras out of here. Like, if they want to record us, they're going to record us. But it seems like every single time they're down here with those cameras, we get brutalized worse than when those specific set of cameras aren't out here. I've been out here twice now when the cameras have been rolling, and it has been so brutal. It's beyond what you can believe through your screen. It's like it's a totally different scenario once you're down here in the streets experiencing like the brutalization at the hands of the government and the local police.
Monica, I've already kept you for so long as lots is happening around us. So I'm going to... Oh.
You mentioned something that was unconstitutional, but Jordan wanted you to ask about Trump saying that he's going to run for a third term.
Ah, yes. Yeah, so that is one theme that we've been tracking out here is that, Steve Bannon recently came out, former advisor to the president, came out and said that Trump is going to serve a third term. People need to comfort themselves that is just going to happen. Views, do you see that as a realistic possibility, and how are you preparing yourself for potentially even more years beyond like the constitutionally allowed limits of what a Trump administration out here would look like?
Right. I hate to be a pessimist, but I've always kind of been a pessimist. I feel like the writing's been on the wall since like November when the election took place. I know I personally prepped myself mentally for the fact that we're probably going to have to deal with the repercussions of this administration for far longer than what normal term limits would allow us normally. So I'm just like trying to mentally prepare, build community, try to do what I can to slow the process of whatever they're trying to do. But yeah, I definitely am not very hopeful. I think that the writing is on the wall. I mean, if you look at like January 6th, I mean, that was them quite literally trying to stop the transfer of power, and they were trying to like bully Mike Pence into doing it, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, like, I mean, they've already tried to go through drastic bounds that are very anti-American, so I just wouldn't put it past them. I think they're not bluffing. I do believe them. I take them at their word for that.
When you say you're mentally preparing, are you doing any other kind of preparation for that eventuality?
I'm trying my best. I'm not a big doomsday prepper or anything, but, I'm trying my best.
I guess it's probably one of those things where if you don't laugh, you're going to cry.
No, for sure. I have a bad sense of humor these days, for sure.
Understood. Monica, thank you very much for the time. Anything else you would want to add before while you head the platform?
No, I think that's it. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Monica. I appreciate it.
I follow you guys on TikTok, too.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
I can't see it with the camera, but there's a line of police.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so as we look down into the darkness down there that you likely cannot make out, and I'm not even sure if our camera can zoom to an acceptable level of detail, there's a line of what looks to be law enforcement officers down there, and I think off to the right there might be again those same DHS officers we referenced earlier outside of the Broadview facility. Off to the left, it's so dark you cannot exactly make out who is where or exactly which law enforcement agencies are down there. If that's all feds, they're all standing on the federal side of the there's some concrete barriers down there marking where there used to be a fence that a federal judge ruled had to come down recently. and these concrete barriers went up in its place. And on the federal, on the ICE detention facility side is where these law enforcement officers are lined up right now. Cannot make out if they are all federal authorities or if they are, we heard from the chief that, at least, and we've seen with our own eyes that at least county police or county sheriff's deputies are out here. Can't be sure who it is. Protest crowd has remained relatively the same in size over really since the protest hours have ended. Yeah.
We'll set up. We'll just keep an eye out.
Yep. Yeah. So we're gonna make our way through this crowd here right now as we keep an eye on what might happen. Kind of picking our way through the crowd, and you see people are just content to stand and continue to peacefully protest for as long as they're allowed to do so. Though ostensibly they're not allowed to do it anymore, but I mean, as long as law enforcement aren't moving them, they'll continue to protest here. You see, we've definitely seen a lot of the Handmaid's Tale references at a lot of these demonstrations out here for various protests out here. Yep. I do want to point out, again, just how little media presence there is out here. In terms of TV cameras, I saw 2. They're likely local. And then there is us. There's been a couple of folks just streaming things on their phone. But this part of the street that we're showing you right here, right now, there was a time not that long ago for just like a day or two when it looked like the National Guard was going to be sent here, where this was packed with TV cameras. One day, they're there, and then the next day, they're gone. We've been on the ground here for nearly a month straight. We took just a few days off to go cover No Kings, the No Kings protest in other parts of the country, and then we've come back now, and we continue to bring you this on-the-ground reporting here from Broadview, Illinois. The fact that these media outlets are worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, cannot have a permanent presence out here in any real sense, I think is a pretty sad indictment on the current state of our media landscape. And if you think that continuing to offer this on-the-ground reporting is important, please go to StatusCoup.com/join. It is not cheap for us to be out here, for us to live out here. We're living out of hotel rooms and the like. It's not cheap for us to be out here. If you can support us, the best way you can do that is go to StatusCoup.com/join. $5 a month, 16 cents a day. It goes to keep us on the ground here and show you how law enforcement is responding to these protesters attempting to exercise their First Amendment rights. Just past a 6 p.m. curfew, just a little bit later into a Saturday evening. So if you can do that, thank you so much. You have no idea the profound gratitude that I feel, that John feels there behind the camera, and then our team elsewhere across the country, our producers, Michelle and Colin, and of course, Jordan, our boss. We are all so grateful. We're a small but mighty team, and we really appreciate any support that you can offer us. Short of that, just subscribe, like, share this stream so that others can see what's happening here on the ground. That goes a long way to support us, boosts us in the algorithm so that more of our stories, more of our reporting get out there to more people.
All right, so it looks like Broadview police are the ones that turned the lights off. Not sure what that means. We'll see. I see a lot of movement in the back by the federal building. Let's see what the chief says.
Nice to meet you, JT.
This is my cameraman, John.
Hey, hi.
How are you? And I'll take it easy on
I know. I'm like,
you just
oh
let,
God.
You just let me know if you know you need any help or if you need some time to reset. We can give that to you. We're not, I think it'd be one thing if you were like a politician whose feet we were looking to hold to the fire, but you're just out here attempting to exercise your First Amendment right past 6 p.m.
Yes.
You said your name was Amy.
Amy.
Amy. Why is it important for you to be out here after that 6 p.m. curfew?
It's important for me to be here. These are our neighbors, and what I've been watching happening in Chicago and all across the U.S. has been sickening and disheartening, and I don't want to be somebody that's passive during a time of unrest and violence. These people come to our streets. I have always felt safe in Chicago, and I have never felt more unsafe than since they've been here.
And they being?
ICE. We don't want them here. We're fine. Chicago's fine. These are our neighbors. I don't want you in our neighborhoods. Who are these people? They're coming from where? Are you from Chicago? We live here. These are our neighborhoods. These are our neighbors. Hands off.
So, is this your first protest out here? Have you been to several? Give me some of that history.
No, this is my first one here at Broadview, but I always try to make it to protests. It was important for me to come here. We know what's happening behind these doors is despicable. The people and the stories that have come out from just protesters and white people, the stories are disgusting, so I can't imagine what's happening to people who they're saying are undocumented and who knows what else.
Yeah, some of those stories, again, being that it's as many as 60 people to a cell in there, people being forced to sleep standing up. I would love to be able to tell you that I've been in there and I can verify that myself, but of course no one is being allowed inside that facility. Not even Illinois' 2 senators were allowed inside that facility when they came out here to ask for entry a couple of weeks ago. So, this is just what you're seeing, the scenes that you're seeing play out across your city right now is just what's happening under a police force, a militarized police force to be sure, but a federal police force. The Trump administration has tried to deploy National Guard troops here to the city, and it's being held up by a federal judge right now. But there's also, the Trump administration is making noise that it wants to invoke the Insurrection Act and put U.S. troops on the ground here. I mean, how would you feel about that? How likely of a scenario do you see that, and are you preparing for it in any capacity?
I mean, it's just an absolute abuse of power. Everything this man says is insane. I mean, he's a lunatic, and it's unfortunate that he's been elected to run our country and empower kind of the worst of the worst. I do think it's important that we prepare, and most importantly right now, get involved, helping out your neighbors, looking into food kitchens, donating money where you can, use your voice when you can. We have our First Amendment right. It's, don't tread on me. So.
Grabbing that "don't tread on me," that Gadsden phrasing that the right loves to see. I mean, do you see this as limited government that the right loves to tout?
We're out here using our rights. This is our constitutional right to be out here doing this. So I don't understand why it's being shut down.
So can you just describe, I don't know where you live, how much ICE activity have you seen in your neighborhoods and your communities? Any anecdotes that you can just tease out for us as to what it's actually like to live in the Chicagoland area right now?
Yeah, a couple of Sundays ago, they deployed a bunch of people downtown Chicago in our neighborhoods. They were on the river with AR-15s. It was such an intimidation tactic. It was truly disgusting. I'm walking to my local park with my dog, and there's dozens of these officers marching up our streets. Gregory Bavino, please get out. None of us want you here. We are safe. Our city has this under control. They're completely unwanted, unnecessary, and this is all just intimidation.
Yeah, Greg Bavino there is the man who is he's with Border Patrol. He is the one who is ostensibly in charge of Operation Midway Blitz here in the Chicagoland area, and will be in court on Tuesday, and we will be there covering it. He's going to be in court on Tuesday because a federal judge has called him in to answer for the use of force that we have seen in a lot of these communities, repeatedly tear gassing people in some of these communities. Sort of along the lines of, continuing the ramping up of federal presence here in the Chicagoland area, ignoring some of the rights that people should have in this moment. Steve Bannon, former Trump administration advisor, recently came out and said that Donald Trump is going to serve a third term. People just need to make themselves comfortable with that, make peace with that idea now. Is that something that you see as a likely, something likely to happen here in the next few years for Trump to try and stay beyond his 4 years? And if so, how are you preparing yourself even mentally for that?
I don't put anything past this man. He would take anything that he can. That is shocking to hear and to think about. It's been in the back of my mind. I think this man wants as much power for as long as he can. So I wouldn't be shocked if he tries for that. And I really hope that our Constitution and our people hold up against that. And really, if you're supporting this still and you think that that's something that's okay, I really, really need you to look inside and think about that, because that's a first in our history, and there's a reason that was set as a precedent a long time ago. It is completely dangerous, and this man cannot serve a third term.
Certainly, according to the Constitution, he can't, but may try to anyway. As you say there, making reference to the future and the ways to resist and stuff like that. I think a lot of people are. I heard from one woman out in a neighborhood that got tear gassed today, where she said oh well, what can we do? It's just, I guess I can just vote for change, right? We've also seen recently that the Trump administration has been installing 2020 election deniers into places of authority with regards to election administration. Are you feeling at all confident in your ability to vote for change in 2026 and beyond?
Yes, I am. I think that America is stronger than this man, and our Constitution is stronger than this man. He was not going to take us down. He's trying, and we're hurting, but he's going to lose.
Can you call out any instances of strength or optimism that you are seeing in this moment? What's giving you the power to keep going right now where a lot of people might lose hope?
Yeah, the city of Chicago is beautiful. I mean, all these people out here right now like this. I just ran the Chicago Marathon, and the support, and thank you, the support and people that have rallied and come together. I'm actually fostering a dog right now that is a dog whose family was taken by ICE, and the amount of friends that have stepped up to help me, the rescuing community that is stepping up. This is having ripple effects into every sector of our life and our communities. The Chicago community is going to keep stepping up, and we're going to keep coming together.
That's what I keep hearing from folks over and over again, and seeing myself is in these communities, the silver lining, as small as it is in comparison to the great amount of pain that the administration is inflicting here in the Chicagoland area right now, is that that sense of community, the text groups that are coming together to point out where ICE is when they're in the neighborhood so that folks can respond, the sharing of resources, the coming together to protest, those sorts of things. Is there are you seeing those same signs in your neighborhood? Are you part of any of those those signal groups or those text groups that we're seeing out there as a way to respond? And if so, what's the organization been like within your neighborhood?
So I'm not specifically involved in an organization, I'd say, in my neighborhood. I'm more involved just with my friends and us in text chains and thinking of different ways that we can help. I do know there's a lot of great organizations, and I actually was looking at a lot of them today, but none that I'm officially in right now. I think it's something as simple as going to your local restaurants, going to your local Mexican restaurant. Right now, people are afraid to go out. Restaurant workers are being taken, so people probably aren't going to work. So, just think of those small things that you can do. Check on your neighbor, ask them if they're doing okay. Have a smile on your face when you see certain people, and we'll keep standing up.
Amy, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you want to add while you've got the platform? I've already taken up so much of your time considering how nervous you were to start this, but you were a natural. I really appreciate you taking the time. So anything else you want to say?
No, I'm just happy to have been here, and I feel empowered, and these are the types of people that are going to save America.
Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate the time.
What was it with?
I've been watching you guys for a while. Wait, I gotta get you.
So, yeah, we are in the dark here now in Broadview, Illinois, outside the Broadview, Illinois ICE detention facility. In the dark, because the police have turned off the lights out here. We had been hearing from the police. They were warning people like, hey, you'll be arrested if you continue to stay. Protesters held their ground, and the police have gone. They've pulled back. They've turned off their lights. We were watching a line of authorities who were standing back near the ICE detention facility, but they are gone now. The street is clear. So it really seems like these protesters will be allowed to continue to protest past that 6 p.m. curfew. And things are like it's kind of returning back to the previous atmosphere that I would say that there was out here earlier in the night, which was one of celebration where people were playing music and they were dancing as a way to show that they are nonviolent. And really one that was interrupted when the police came in to start clearing people, that, the energy became much more tense. Now, again, things relaxed. And now, because the police have gone, I'll note that a lot of the protesters have gone as well. That they, don't really, feel that need to continue to hold their ground if there's not a force to, hold their ground in front of. A lot of them are choosing to just walk away, to leave. But there is still a small but mighty group out here that is holding down the fort and continuing to protest here into the evening for as long as law enforcement, it seemingly, will let them.
Give me a reason to dance. Wait. It's one seat. Nice seeing you around. I'll see you at the warehouse. Hi, perfect. Be safe. I'll see you soon. What's your name? Sam. Yeah, nice to meet you. Be safe.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out.
Do you mind if I tag along?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, we should do a Congo line.
To be fair, his dance moves are fucking killer. Lock this guy up, I don't know. I'm just fucking saying something.
I mean, I majored in the art of dance. Can't you tell?
That I can't let silent moments happen.
I'll say that I just heard a couple of passing protesters just a minute or two ago that said that they were, that said, hey, we're going to leave. And one gentleman said, I'll join you. And he seemed to intimate that it was because that, things were calming down out here. So again, when there isn't that blatant like escalation out here, or the heavy-handed tactics that we have seen placed on these protesters to make them leave, make them disperse, to arrest them, to use force against them, then, so long as they're out here and they're able to be heard, then they seem pretty content, and then they go.
As good as one can be.
It was just on, though. I don't even... This playlist sucks.
I wonder if they're just testing the waters to see if, I don't know. I'm actually going to go get one of my friends with dogs because he's tired of playing.
Okay, we'll go Sandstorm again.
Yeah, protesters very happy out here right now. I'll say the energy is like borderline joyous at just being able to allowed to stay as late as they have. Protesters back to playing music, which is what we saw earlier. Protesters are starting to self-police. They're starting to self-police. They're shouting at other protesters who are in the street, telling them to get out of the street so as not to incur the police presence and get cleared out of here. They're saying, please stay out of the street so that we can stay as long as we can and continue to protest the ICE facility, because that is ultimately what these protesters want to be here to be able to do, is protest that ICE facility. They've grown so frustrated in recent weeks because the police have interceded and put themselves in between the protesters and ICE. Pardon me, man. I'm a reporter. My name's JT. I'm with Status Coup.
Oh, Status Coup, what's up?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I watch you guys.
Love that. I was interviewing protesters about how you're feeling about being allowed to stay here seemingly past 6. Would you mind if I did an interview with you real quick, sir? My cameraman John's right over here. What's your name, man? All right.
So,
yeah.
You want to go right into, or you want a little background?
Well, I'll set you up for it here in just a second. So I'm standing here with Stephen Heller. Stephen, just so we can get it right later, like when we put your name on screen, can you spell it for us?
STEVENHELLER.
Lovely. So, first I want just like your general reaction. The fact that you've been allowed to be out here now, it was like protesting was supposed to end over an hour ago. You're still allowed to stand out here. How are you feeling?
I think it's the right thing to do. You know, I understand the need for the local community and the police to get control, but the problem with the situation is ICE. They're instigating. You know, when I was here and it was just us and ICE, they're shooting 16-year-old boys with their pepper balls who weren't even here to protest. They're here to deliver medicine to their father. You know, the problem is behind us, and the fact that the police feel like they've been set up to protect ICE from us is a big problem. You know, the curfew is not necessary because we've never attacked anybody here. We've never instigated. I've been coming here with these people for months. There's no cause for it.
So, you know, you're saying, yeah, I support this new, it seems like it's the police chief here in the village of Broadview deciding on this tactic, maybe by himself, that we're just going to kind of let this peter out. I mean, how long will you stay if law enforcement allows you to continue to be out here to protest? How long will you stay before you go home?
A couple more hours, and we all have to sleep at some point. But I want to point out that there are volunteers that stay overnight to mind the tent, and we want to support them because this is not a one-day effort. You know, the point isn't to stay here until we can't stand anymore, and that's how we'll win the battle. We'll win the battle because we come back tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. You know, and it's a lot of small battles to win what we need to find the rights, you know, to protect these people from their rights being violated, to remind people that the Constitution applies to more than just citizens that were born here and are white, right? The Constitution applies to everybody, even criminals, even illegal immigrants, you know, and they have rights, and I'm here to stand up for them.
So what does victory look like then?
Victory is a long-term game at this point. Those of you that have been watching closely know the deck has been stacked. You know, things are getting bad right now. The question is not will we win, the question is how long will it take. You know, and it will take longer or shorter depending on how many of us keep showing up nationwide, making the point that we are not comfortable with the militarization of our cities. We're not comfortable with rights being violated. I've been traveling to cities all over the country, mostly D.C. and here in Chicago and in L.A. Everywhere the National Guard is being deployed, everywhere ICE, you know, is making noise, I'm going to support local communities that are sprouting up with regular, consistent protests. You can't show up once. You've got to show up tomorrow and again, every weekend, your days off. Just keep coming out.
Where does that sense of optimism about the future, even though I do want to accurately phrase the way you said it, you know, you seem to couch it in the sense of, you know, victory for you could take a long time. You've got to be in this for the long haul, but you do seem pretty assured that, hey, the side of justice here will win eventually. Where does that sense of optimism come from for you?
Because history repeats itself. We can see how bad things can get, and we can also see that it doesn't last forever. And that's not a point that you can stay on your couch and wait this out, because we could lose a generation to tyranny. We could lose a generation to fascism if we make it clear that we'll tolerate it. So it's an absolute call to action. And I'm proud of all of the people that are showing. I'm proud of the veterans that are showing up at protests like in Washington, D.C., the flare tents. If you guys have been there, they're in Union Station 24/7. And remember your oath, the veterans that are there embedded with them, 24/7, making the same points every single day. So, yes, it's going to take time. But yes, we will win. We just need everybody to show up.
Talking about the potential to lose a generation to tyranny, some themes along that I want to ask you about your feelings. We've seen that recently the Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was asked in a recent press conference about some rumors that have been circulating online about the National Guard making plans for a rapid response force that could be deployed to all 50 states as soon as April, which is an apparent reference to the invocation of the Insurrection Act. If it got that far, or maybe I should say, do you see it getting that far? Do you see the Insurrection Act as a real possibility? And if so, how are you preparing for it personally?
Will it get that far? No, nobody knows. I know that they would do it in a heartbeat if they thought that it would stick, right? So, again, I keep harping on it. Comes back to how we are reacting now will affect the decisions these people make. Because the one thing they don't want to lose is their power. And if they think that they'll lose it because they went too far, then they'll back off and they'll slow down. And then years down the road, we have an election, and we're back to being a democracy again. That's what we have to do. Keep making noise. As to what happens if they pass the Insurrection Act, well, I'm going to have to show up even more. I'm going to have to be even louder. And we all are going to have to do that. We cannot accept a state without rights. We cannot accept an America without a constitution.
So I just want to point out there that in the background there was quite a bit of noise and commotion, as it looked like a sheriff's deputy who came walking down the street and caught quite a bit of attention from the protesters out here. So you referenced there, hey, got an election coming up, that's a potential opportunity to change the course that the country is on right now. But we have seen that Donald Trump has now began to, has appointed 2020 election deniers in key positions with regard to the administration and oversight of elections in the federal government. I shouldn't say administration, because most elections are administered at the local level here, but do some coordination in terms of election resources and such. What's your feeling? Do you feel like you are going to get that chance to vote in 26?
I hope so. I think will there be an election? Absolutely. There's a question of whether the election will be fairly decided, right? Is it real, dictators love elections. It helps them look legitimate. So I'm concerned about that. Yes. But, all I can do is what I can do. So I'm just going to keep acting to help this movement move forward. We're going to try to find candidates that we can support, candidates that have the guts to stand up. And by the way, this is my personal thing. I'm only donating to candidates that are willing to show up at protests, like this. I'm not saying they got to get their ass kicked like I did, but they've got to show up. Somebody wants to send me text messages and raising money and sit in Washington and say everything will be fine. That's not how we're getting to the other side of this. I personally delivered a citation to my congressman the other day at his office in D.C., a citation for failure to appear in person in defense of democracy. And we have to make the message clear to them, Democrats or whoever, that politics as usual is not going to work either. And if they have no votes right now, then they can come out here and hold a sign with us.
Absolutely. So when you say, you talk about that, again, going back to those elections, looking beyond 26 now to 28, Steve Bannon, who is an advisor, or was an advisor to President Trump, has recently said in an interview that people need to make themselves comfortable with the fact that Donald Trump is going to serve a third term in the office. How realistic? Yeah, let him try. How realistic of a possibility do you see that? And what are you prepared to do to resist that notion? Because I'm taken that you would be opposed.
Of course I'm opposed. And I'm not a sports bettor. And I think the biggest factor that affects the outcome of that, other than the hope that we will preserve our democracy, is his health and his age. And I'm not placing any bets on his longevity for a third term. But if we get to that point, he runs for a third term, he gets elected, that is a stark violation of the Constitution. And it would put us in a terrible default state of necessary resistance that I don't want to contemplate. I think that our goal is to get through this before we get to that next election, is to rebuild ourselves a movement for democracy, for the people of this country, and find some Democrats or whoever. We'll build a new fucking party if the Democrats don't have the stones to show up. But we will build a whole new movement and recognize that some of the complaints that are coming from the other side, from the MAGA world, some of those complaints are legitimate. Some of the complaints are the same complaints that people on the left have. The same complaints about, how they're experiencing their life right now, how they can't afford, to live in a country that's supposed to be the wealthiest country in the world. Those are the real problems that we can agree on, and we have to start focusing on that and get away from the narrative of, it must be the immigrants that are causing these problems, or it must be whatever.
I've taken us to such a heady place, some really big topics. For my last question here, I want to zoom back into this facility here. What is the message that you want to deliver to the federal government about the conditions here, about what is going on here? Synthesize it down for me. Why is it important to be here protesting this specific facility?
This facility is a farce. I came here over a month ago, my first trip out, when it was just us and ICE. And to see their excitement at violence is something I have never experienced with law enforcement anywhere in this country. And I've had good days and bad days at protests, but at the end of the day, those motherfuckers up there, Wesley Snipes, I'm calling you out, bro. They fucking love their violence. There was nothing more.
Sorry, just calling that out. You're saying Wesley Snipes, referencing not the actor. You're referencing the Department of Homeland Security officers who have stationed themselves in previous days on those roofs, acting as snipers. Wesley Snipes.
That's true. I'm a big fan of the real Wesley Snipes, actually. But no, just to hang out on there and just take shots at people. And we knew what the rules were, like don't step on their property, and they just shoot you anyway. And then they shot a kid. They shot a kid up 3 volleys of that stuff right in front of us when they knew he was there not as a protester. That is the thing we have to be scared of. This facility, I understand that in the future there will need to be some kind of an immigration enforcement structure, but that facility needs to go away. It's an abandoned television station. It's not meant to be a prison. And we don't need prisons to deal with immigrants. We need a visa process that works.
Stephen, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Anything else you want to say while you have the platform?
No, I just, I want to shout out to Flare in D.C., the 24-hour protest at Union Station, and I want to shout out to the wonderful people organizing this 24/7. They have to maintain a supply tent here. They have to keep a presence here. So if you're in the Chicago area, please come over and introduce yourself and offer to help. Offer to take an overnight shift when it's not fun and exciting, but it's cold out and somebody has got to sit in the seat. Do the same thing. Help Flare in D.C. at flare.usa. They are launching protests every day throughout Washington, going to Congress, speaking to your Congress people. Join the groups that are making this movement happen and support them with your time and your money.
Stephen, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So now you can hear the drums going on there in the background, maybe some of the music as well. As I said, it's turned to a joyous atmosphere out here once the police backed off and allowed the protesters to continue. Protests have largely diminished, so we are going to start to say goodbye. But before I do, I need to at least make one more pitch to you to support our work if you can. StatusCoup.com/join. $5 a month, 16 cents a day. That covers everything that keeps us on the ground here in Chicago. That covers our travel expenses. That covers our housing, because we need to be able to sleep under a roof at night. John and I, we get up early every morning. We hit the road almost immediately after we grab some coffee for John, and then we go out and we report all day, and we'll go and we'll live stream into the night here as we are doing with you now. After this, we'll probably go get some food in us to recharge for tomorrow, and then collapse our heads on a pillow and sleep. But still, doing that is expensive. Being on the ground, offering this kind of coverage is expensive. There's a reason that that the corporate press doesn't do this as much as we are doing it, is because it is expensive. It's expensive work, to be sure, but it is important work. And if you see that value, please go to StatusCoup.com/join and support the work that we are doing, because there is nobody else doing what we are doing out here. The couple of other cameras that were here, and looks like that they have since left, were some local television cameras, and that was it. That was it. So if you want this to reach a national audience, please support us. We greatly appreciate it. I want to take a moment here to support, or to call out all of the folks who have supported us. So first, starting with our super chats from tonight, NSBD 90 now gave us $10 and said, here you go, get a snack. Thank you very much. I have a chocolate bar in my pocket that I am waiting to eat, which I will do so. I will snack just as you told me here in just a few minutes. James M. gave us $20. Thank you very much, James. Tony D. gave us $2. He said, sad DNC leaders will not say what this man said. Question mark. Tony, I wish I knew exactly which person you were referencing there. We interviewed so many protesters who spoke so eloquently about the issues that folks out here are dealing with right now, about the leadership that they want to see from their leaders. Most importantly, is just like show up in the first place. Like that is the number one thing that they want to see. NSBD 90 now gave us $20 and said, y'all are going to need some refreshments after this. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate every support, and the fact that you gave twice, not lost on me. Thank you. KD Mully, who gave us $10 and said, thank you for covering this. It's important. We agree. That's why we're here on the ground. Thank you for your support. And then Sarah Evans Polite, who gave us $1.99. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Spiritual Activism, who gave us $4.99 and said, the Constitution matters and it does not have a curfew. Couldn't agree more. No references to a curfew in the First Amendment, but there is one out here in Broadview. Love and solidarity to all fellow Americans standing to defend all of our rights. Mark Bulletin, who gave us $10 and just said thanks. Thank you. I'm not sure what you're thanking us for. I guess maybe our work out here. If that's the case, I'm glad to keep doing it. Tanaj, who gave us $2 and said, everyone, please hit thumbs up for the stream. Thanks. Yes. Interacting with the stream, sharing it, hitting that like button helps it get boosted in the algorithm so that more people see our reporting here on the ground and see what is happening here. We appreciate that. New YouTube members, we have Kristen Harrison, who gifted 1 membership. Thank you very much, Kristen. Edwin Mesner, Ravel Tomacek, Gris, Reptile Z, who gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. And Tarjay Nagard, thank you all very much for your support. It means the world to us here at Status Coup. For Status Coup in Broadview, Illinois, on behalf of myself, I'm JT Siskowski, John Farina behind the camera, Colin, Michelle, and Jordan, who support us, our behind-the-scenes crew. Thank you all so much, and good night.